Hi there. Good morning. Welcome to the AM show. It's the midweek edition of your favorite breakfast show right here on Joy News. We also live around the world on myjoyonline.com, across Ghana's 16 regions on the Joy News channel, of course on DSTV channel 421 and GoTV channel 125. My name is Sweetie Abochi, and I always do this with Benjamin Akaku. Now, let me tell you what we have in store for you in this 4-hour package of the AM show for this morning. We'll start by serving you the AM news. I'll be anchoring that myself. And after that, we'll sit with our guests to review the newspapers. On Wednesday, we like to engage academics. And today, we'll talk to Dr Bawumia. He's the head Center for European Studies at the University of Ghana. And Jabri Mohammed, he's also senior lecturer at University of Ghana Business School. Both gentlemen will help us review the newspapers and the stories in there that resonate with you and I. After that, Muftan Abdullah will bring you AM Sports. And then, of course, our big stories come right after that. Now, for the first bit of our big stories, we look at Ghana's tertiary students who are redefining entrepreneurship, balancing academics with businesses that drive campus economies. With support from incubation centers and industry leaders, they are shaping the future of Ghana's SMEs. And we'll tell you more about this innovation when we get to that bit. Also, we'll speak to Environmental Service Providers Association, who say they are against the pollution and sanitation levy being redirected for other purposes in the 2025 budget, rather than originally stipulated. What exactly is amiss there? We'll get incisive with that conversation as well. Folks, you are invited to join us with your comments and your thoughts across all social media platforms via Joy News on TV. And hopefully, when we open the phone lines at the tail end of the show, you get to have your say. Don't forget, the AM show is sponsored by Waylead Properties. Stay with me. Let's start with the AM news now. Live on the Joy News channel, this is the AM News. Let's get right into details. The national chair of the Alu-Sunna Youth Advisory Council and leader of Daru Tawhid Institute in Tamale, Sheikh Dr Abu Dujana Ibn Basha, has begun mediation in the Zabzugu conflict between Dagombas and Kukumbas. Now, this follows a recent clash between hunters and farmers from the two tribes that claimed one life and destroyed properties worth thousands of Ghana cedis. The initiative is to help build a peaceful community for the two tribes. The Muslim cleric called on the people to learn to tolerate each other and work towards the development of the area.
Zugu N. Nyando after the murder of a farmer Alhassan Mumuni at Nyando by an unknown assailant last month. The residents continue to live in fear amidst threats of reprisal attacks. On a visit to the area, leader of the Daru Tawhid Institute in Tamale, Sheikh Dr Abu Dujana Ibn Basha, said the people should consider the good times they have lived together and foster peace amongst themselves.
Consider the good times you have lived together, forgive each other, and move forward. Let's recognize the regions under development and work together to address these challenges, come together and support one another for the betterment of the community.
The chief of Nyando and the regent of Zabzugu agreed for a reconciliation to ensure peace in the area.
Well, apologies for that bad sound. We'll bring you a revised one in our subsequent bulletins. But in other stories, the African Continental Free Trade Area is calling for effective reforms in intra-African trade that will help marginalized businesses thrive. The AFTA believes reforms such as reduction of non-tariff barriers, such as restrictive regulations on product standards and excessive border delays, can help unleash the full potential of marginalized businesses, especially ones owned by women and youth. Abigail Isel Nkrumah has more in this report.
Over the years, intra-African trade has been plagued by several factors that have challenged its success, especially for marginalized groups and businesses. At a meeting held in Cape Coast, the National Coordinator for the African Continental Free Trade Area, Dr. Farid Arthur, believes women are treated unfairly as their potential and strength in business have been undermined.
Our economy is about 80% MSMEs. So women have a strong economic might, which we sometimes brush it under the carpet of informal sector. So they have not been given the proper due share of what they really deserve. And so in developing the AFCFTA, that issue came up that, look, we need not to make the mistake of developing a system that excludes some people. And when you look at the African demography, women form more than 50%, youth are about 70%. So there is a need to actually focus on them, to design, because they will grow with it. Women are already controlling the economy in most countries. The youth are already the majority across Africa. And so they are the people who we believe can grow with this initiative if you bring them in and you create the space for them to flourish. And so that is why the issue of women and children has gained a special place in the inclusive approach of the AFCFTA.
For the Central Regional Minister, whose words were echoed by the Acting Regional Coordinating Director, Blaise Kwame Dake, the reduction of non-tariffs and other challenges of intra-African trade will help businesses access a broader continental market.
The Central region is strategically positioned to take full advantage of the ACTA. Our region boasts a robust agro-processing industry, a thriving fisheries sector, a growing manufacturing base, and a dynamic tourism and hospitality industry. We are home to some of Ghana's most productive agricultural activities.
The Central Regional Director of the Department of Gender questioning whether measures have been instituted to protect women during trading activities.
Have we put measures in place to protect women from exploitation, harassment, sexual and gender-based violence? These are the things I am looking for. So I am expecting them to throw more light in these areas, how they are going to protect the women from all this act.
From Cape Coast, Abigail Lesel Nkrumah reports for Joy News.
Next, West Africa's nomadic fisher folk have practiced mobile fishing for centuries, but ongoing challenges continue to hinder their activities. To address these issues, the Environmental Policy Group of Wageningen University in the Netherlands organized a fisheries mobilities workshop at the University of Cape Coast. The workshop explored how socio-environmental pressures impact mobile fishing. Group member Idrisu Amadu emphasized the need for policy reforms in the fisheries sector to tackle these challenges. Abigail Nkrumah again.
At a fishery mobilities workshop championed by the Wageningen University in the Netherlands and other participating institutions, a member of the Environmental Policy Group of the university, Idrisu Amadu, reaffirmed the university's commitment to support fishing communities.
This workshop, I will say, is first of its kind, as highlighted by some of the representatives in their presentations this morning. You would hear that, this is something that hasn't received attention, so there hasn't even been a significant conversation around it. So I would say this is one of a kind. The idea is that our commitment continues, and wherever personally we are able to organize some support, we will definitely try to engage communities further, as well as policymakers who are very central in regulating these fisheries.
Natasha Kwame Damwa, the Central Regional Director of the Fisheries Commission, suggested that fisherfolk report themselves to the Commission before embarking on their fishing journey to ensure they are protected, and commented on the reason for mobile fishing.
Our sea is down in relation to the stocks level, and so they want to move to other countries that have used other strong enforcement to make sure they replenish theirs. And so I'm advising all fishers for them to make sure that they adhere to the advice that is being given by the Fisheries Commission, for that matter, the Ministry of Fisheries and Aquaculture, to follow the rules and regulations of not using noxious substances such as the dynamite, the light, and the like in fishing, so that if our stocks level are gotten to a certain limit, then we all stay in our country without going to other places and face all other challenges that they've elaborated upon.
Emmanuel Tetetenkran, while lauding the workshop, expressed concern for mobile fishing.
For we at the FCWC, the migratory or the migration of fishers from one region to the other is of a great concern, and we believe that coming up with these regulatory reforms, it will be able to help manage their migratory movement. So if fishermen stay to the close season without moving to the other region because there's a close season there, then we are going to revamp our fish stocks, and then they wouldn't need to go through the hardship aforetime they would have faced.
The workshop was built on the theme, Rethinking Fisheries Governance in West Africa Through Mobility in a Changing Environment. From Cape Coast, Abigail Lissel Nkrumah reports for Joy News.
Away from that, the Chief Executive Director of Life Again, Saudatu Mohammed, has urged the government to subsidize equipment costs for informal sector trainees who have completed their skills training. She noted that the high cost of tools hinder young entrepreneurs from starting their businesses, and she made this appeal during the International Women's Day Business Development Training in WA. And our Joy News Upper West Regional Correspondent, Rafiq Salam, reports.
Life Again, a non-governmental organization, organized a one-day business development training for graduate apprentices to mark this year's International Women's Day in WA. 100 young women from the WA municipality, including tailors, weavers, and hairdressers, were selected to participate in the event. The training aimed to equip them with entrepreneurial skills and knowledge to help them transform their vocational skills into profitable businesses, thereby empowering them economically. The business development training was held under the theme Accelerate Action from Skills to Startups. In an interview with Joy News, the Executive Director of Life Again, Saudatu Mohammed, shed more light on the program.
Most often, these young women, they learn the skill, they learn the vocational skill. So, for example, at the end of the day, they know how to sew or they know how to weave, but they don't know the business aspect of the vocational skill. So you find them, they have an employable skill that they can use to make money, but they are at home, still complaining that they don't have jobs. So we have decided to organize this event to address that gap by providing them entrepreneurial training to equip them with business skills and knowledge, teaching them the business aspect of their vocational skill.
Madam Saudatu also called on the government to subsidize the cost of equipment that these young entrepreneurs need to start their businesses.
I'm calling on the government to please, if there's a possibility of subsidizing some of these equipments, like the hairdressers, the master tailors, sewing machines, and all the other equipment that these young women would use to be able to create something from their skill. We are really calling on government to subsidize some of these equipments so that these young women can acquire them and put their vocational skills and whatever business training we've given them today to good use.
Upper West Regional Director of the Ghana Enterprise Agency, GEA, Mohamed Abdul Mumin, noted that the business development training serves as a fertile ground for identifying potential entrepreneurs and enrolling them to various GA programs.
The opportunity for these people is for them to come. We enroll them into our current program, Business in the Box. We shortly call it BizBoss, which is financed and sponsored by MasterCard Foundation in collaboration with Ghana Enterprises Agencies.
Two of the beneficiaries shared their experiences with Joy News, highlighting what they had learned from the training.
They teach us how to handle our customers and how to welcome our customers and how to run our business. So I'm so grateful to that.
I learned something about using our phone. Example, TikTok. We shouldn't use TikTok for only movies, but we should use them for our website.
Reporting for Dway News, Rafik Salam. Wow.
The Greater Rural Opportunities for Women 2 project, led by Mennonite Economic Development Associates with funding from Global Affairs Canada, has held a review workshop in Tamale. The session assessed progress in soybean and groundnut markets, explored ways to drive sustainable change. Now, findings will shape the project's final phase and support women farmers and agribusinesses. Let's tell you more in this report.
The Integrated Market System Assessment is a diagnostic approach to achieving system change through comprehensive analysis of a particular agri-food market system. This is done through these 3 dimensions, economic, social, and environmental, to determine the root cause of market failures and to inform MEDE's project and regional interventions in that agri-food system. Speaking at the review meeting, the country project manager of Grow 2, Francis Esuma, explained that the workshop would serve as a platform for collaborative learning and reflections, ensuring that Grow 2 strategies remain adaptable.
Almost all the communities that you go, you will see a woman working on the Grow 2 project who is empowered to do different things. Some of them are representing seed dealers. Some of them are representing inoculants dealers who have fridges and retailing inoculants. Some of them are also representing aggregators to serve their members. Some of them are having shelling centers. Some of them are even offering planting services.
The plant breeder, Professor Sanatu Mustafa Alidu, said the project has offered her lots of exposure and business opportunities.
I think about 80% of the way I do my business has changed tremendously because when I got into this project, I've had exposure to attend conferences outside Tamale.
Another participant, Mary Ali Lar, said the project has helped her grow her business.
MEDA Grow 2 has supported me in so many ways. We've gone through trainings to see how we could improve on our supply, supported us with training as to how to handle our foods. They've supported us in so many ways, giving us equipment to be able to make quality products.
Moving on, Canadian philanthropist Daniel McCartney has handed over a renovated 3-classroom block and a nursery unit to the Yilo Yalili community in Sagnerugu. He emphasized education's role in economic growth and urged residents to maintain the facilities. Here's more.
The renovation will offer the children of Yilo Yalili a conducive environment for learning. This is not the first time McCartney is showing kindness to the people of Yilo Yalili. Speaking to the media, the Canadian philanthropist Daniel McCartney made a special appeal to parents to encourage their children, especially girls, to explore their talents in sports.
So education is the key. I know there's a lot of unemployment in the country, and a lot of people with good education don't have jobs, but if you do have a job, you're going to be better off, and you have many more options, and you can learn more. So to me, I see that friends who I grew up with in Canada, who didn't go on to high school or didn't go on to university, they have suffered relative to what we have been able to do. So I've seen it firsthand in my culture, and I think it's very true in your culture too. And it's hard for a lot of parents to realize that when they have not had the opportunity to go to school themselves.
The Sagnerugu Municipal Coordinator assured the philanthropists that the community would maintain the facility.
In fact, what he did, we cannot in a way express our feeling of gratitude. But what we can say is that we are very grateful and we thank God for bringing him to step in to this community and to the school.
On his part, the chief of Yilo Yalili traditional area in Yab Yilo Na thanked Mr. McCartney for his continued support to the Yilo-na-Yili community.
Myself and my people are very happy for your kind gesture. We pray God will richly bless you for what you have given to us. But whoever can help should come to our aid. The schools still need furniture. Some of the classrooms, the children are struggling due to inadequate furniture.
Up next, Benjamin Akakpo serves you Business Update.
Welcome to Business Update. We kickstart matters with our currency market for today. Let's get into our first story. An economist, Professor Godfred Bokpin, has reiterated calls for a renegotiation of the IMF program. He argues the program design, benchmarks and growth targets are unsustainable and insufficient to reduce poverty. Hence, the need for the current government to take a relook at the parameters. He cautioned there would be severe challenges after the completion of the program in 2026.
Maintain the position much earlier that the program needs to be renegotiated. We need to take another look at the program, because if you look at the program design, the structure, the benchmark, the indicative targets and the growth trajectory, that growth will be insufficient to lift millions of Ghanaians out of poverty. And if you look at the new mandate, the parties, the government manifesto and all of that, it's going to be challenging situating that within the IMF supported program without disruptions. Then again, the most important thing is to say that because over the years we have not been able to maintain macroeconomic stability for long, so the program will deliver some relative macroeconomic stability. But what happens after 2026? Especially after 2026 is when you see the bullet repayment from our debt restructuring. Will the country be able to have the framework to be able to absorb those repayments and be able to also allocate sufficient funds to infrastructure financing and growth enhancing? You can't see that clearly beyond 2026. And that is why we should take advantage of the regime change, the new mandate, a new wine in a new wineskin, and see how we can readjust the parameters and make considerable progress, particularly beyond 2026, if you are an investor.
Now, the executive director of the Institute of Statistical, Social and Economic Research, Professor Peter Quartey, has opposed the government's decision to scrap the betting tax. Speaking at the post-2025 budget statement review in Accra, he stressed the need for the government to redirect betting tax revenues into impactful youth development programs rather than eliminating them.
2021, we are told the road toll brings us 72 million, brought us 72 million cedis. Betting tax is around 140 million. Now, we want to introduce road toll, which is lower, and give out betting tax, which gives more. I don't know. You see, some of the diseases are very populist. I know the young ones who bet will not be happy with me, but I, for one, I am against this thing. You bet, you get earnings. I pay tax when I do consultants. I pay 20% of my consultants. Honorarium, I pay 20%. Betting, you've earned income and you are paying something, and you say it should be free. And because of votes and populism, we allow this. In other jurisdictions, betting is like a hobby. After work, then you go and bet and play casino, drink, beer, Guinness with your friends, and come home and sleep. People want to turn betting into a way of work, like employment. No, tax and use the money to develop something for the youth, the young ones. This is not a sustainable thing. So when I see the youth arguing, when you talk about betting tax, then they start insulting you. I don't understand. This is not your future. If somebody is moving you into this, that's not your future. You need sustainable jobs. So I don't support this scrapping of betting tax on earnings. You have to be taxed, but let's use the money, develop sports, develop something that the young people can meaningfully engage in.
Let's get into our commodities market now. It's a wrap for business. Handing over back to Sweetie Abochi.
Well, thank you, Ben, for serving us business updates. Coming up next is News Review, because that ends the AM News Bulletin on the AM Show. And our guests joining us for News Review, two academics, Dr. Bawumia Sasante, head for the Center of European Studies at the University of Ghana, and Dr. Jibril Mohammed. He's also a lecturer at the University of Ghana Business School. Stay with us. We'll be right back with the News Review segment.
Welcome back. Time for the news review on the AM show. And of course, I'll be telling you about that entity that leads the way when it comes to properties in Accra. I'm talking about Waylead Properties. They sponsor the AM show. Let me ask you, are you thinking of a rewarding investment you can engage in? Waylead Company Limited is your preferred choice for such an investment. Waylead Company Limited is a real estate company with several developments to its credit in Accra. Invest in our new development, Willow Lane, where elegance will meet tranquility in the heart of Accra. We provide quality housing at an affordable cost and also with a flexible payment option. At Waylead Properties, we provide you with 24-hour security, reliable power supply, and other social amenities to make your stay a memorable one. All you have to do now is pick up your phone and call either one of these numbers: 0240 111 119 or 0504 499 999. You can also visit www.waylead.org for more information.
I also want to tell you something really important. You know, every year, thousands of Ghana's brightest minds seek better prospects abroad, leaving a gap in our workforce. The question is, how can Ghana inspire its talents to stay right here in Ghana and thrive? You want to join David Ofosu-Dorte, Professor Mary Setrana, and Her Excellency Dr. Amina Gurib Fakim, former President of Mauritius, at the 12th edition of the Ishmael Yamson and Associates Business Roundtable to discuss managing the talent exodus, leveraging private-public partnerships for growth. This is happening on the 7th of May 2025 at Labadi Hotel, and it starts at 9 a.m. sharp. If you want to participate, you want to register, you can simply text your name and organization to this number, 0530-117-202. You can also send an email to info@ieyamson.com. Our guest joining us this morning for the news review segment is Dr. Bawumia Asante. His head Center for European Studies at the University of Ghana, as well as Dr. Jibril Mohammed. He's a senior lecturer at University of Ghana Business School. But let me start with Dr. Bawumia Asante. Good morning, Doc. Welcome to the AM show.
Good morning, City, and good morning to Ben, as well as viewers.
Good morning, Doc.
Well, Doc, you know how we do it on the show. You have about 2 minutes to walk us through any reflections you may have on any topical issue that you want to reflect on.
Yeah, today I want to look at more often than not, when we are in economic difficulty, we seek support from the Bretton Woods institution, particularly IMF. And we know the conditions that are attached to such resources. It has not been easy for this country. And searching through my mind, I ask myself, can't we have a way out to this problem? And that is why I want to discuss this. Is it not possible for our government to look around the universities, the think tanks, and then professionals, and then assemble people based on their special areas? Take, for instance, we have a crop of scholars in the area of economics, say 50 or 100, and so is political science, medicine, and all that around, particularly those who draw from the state purse. That look, you will be a standby group that when we are in difficulty, will come to you as a last resort. Is it not feasible? And I believe that these people, little resource you give to them, when we're in difficulty, they can come in and support us to turn things around. Because I ask myself, what is it that the IMF provide for us in terms of ideas that our economists, financial experts cannot do here if you tax them and you give them the needed resources? So I think moving away, Ghana beyond IMF, I believe that this is a way to go. We can do it, and yes, we can.
Well, thank you so much, Doc. I'm not sure if we have Dr. Jibril Mohammed with us yet, so let's get straight into the newspapers. I have a couple of them. Let me start with the News Center, really. On the front page, former Ethiopian PM urges African nations to prioritize trade growth. Dr. Bawumia cannot be faulted for NPP's 2024 election loss. That is according to Sarah Adjwasafo. 11% inflation target in 2025, budget doubtful, according to ISE. Finance Minister touts cedi stability against the US dollar. That happened in Parliament yesterday. We'll get into the story in a moment. Urgent solutions needed to avert looming food crisis in Ghana, according to GAU. And 661 million Ghana cedi judgment debt to benefit who? That was allocated in the 2025 budget. It's unclear exactly who we are paying this amount to. An IEA Lord's proposed review of Fiscal Responsibility Act. I want to start from the story of what Sarah Adjwasafo has been saying, which I found very interesting. She says, and that story is actually on page 3 of the News Center. Former Member of Parliament for Domikwa-Binya, Sarah Adjwasafo, has strongly defended Dr. Bawumia, asserting that he cannot be held responsible for the New Patriotic Party's defeat in the 2024 general election. And I want to skip to some of the things that I think are very controversial. She says, on the e-levy controversy and her decision to abstain, she says that she abstained from the voting on the controversial e-levy bill and explained that her stance was guided by the concerns of her constituents, particularly members of a church in the Domikwa-Binya constituency who feared the levy would impose financial hardship on them. So she abstained. The question is, so who did we see in Parliament look like Adjwasafo who voted? That's a question we can throw to the gods. Doc, let me add just one more story to it before I come to you. Mahama charges new Director General of Prisons to make prisons true centers of reformation. President John Dramani Mahama on Monday sworn into office Deputy Director General of Prisons, Patience Bafo Boni, as Director General of the Ghana Prison Service with a charge to transform prisons into true centers of reformation. And the president made the appointment of Mrs. Bafoboni in consultation with the Council of State, while that of DCFO in Sapong and DCI Amadu confirmations await approval for their respective governing bodies. Doc, let's start from here. So Ajah Safo says we cannot blame Dr. Bawumia, and she was not present in Parliament to vote for the e-levy bill. And President John Dramani Mahama is charging the new DG for prisons to make prisons true centers of reformation. Quick thoughts on that?
I'll start with Ajah Safo's issue. Very interesting account because we're made to know that she voted on the D-Day. So this comes in as a surprise to me and many people in this country. But we wait for Parliament to set the record straight, since Parliament is a house of records. But back to the issue of Dr. Bawumia not being part of the defeat, I disagree with respect to Madam. Because if you look at Dr. Bawumia's own utterances, hitherto, the elections, that he would do a whole lot if they are giving the mandate. And then he had opportunity to do it with his president, and he failed to do that. That was a big indictment on him. His attitude towards certain things didn't also help him. Take, for instance, the way he comported himself as a Muslim or carried himself as a Muslim throughout this country, and then went on visiting shrines and all that as a Muslim was, to the least, not the best for Muslims. That was also a factor. Quite apart from that, for Dr. Bawumia also running away from responsibility when the economy was in crisis. Meanwhile, he is the one that the president has touted as the economic messiah. And when the need arose, we couldn't see the vice president. He was somewhere else doing other things. For me, that was very, very, very critical. So it contributed to the defeat of the NPP. But that is not to say that that was all there is to it. Other factors such as the economy and the president himself own posture and attitude were part of it. But that said, let me look at the issue of the prisons being a center for proper reforms and all that. That is what ought to be, but is that what we are seeing? If that is not the case, then we need to step up our game and do something so that people who go in and come out will become the best for society, not nuisance to society. And the society is also ready to accept them and integrate them into the process to make a better society. But beyond that, we should also take a cue from countries such as Burkina Faso, where they are making the best and then making use of the prisoners to cultivate arable lands for production of agriculture. It will also improve their health and all that when they get busy on the field and all that. Why are we not taking advantage of this? And then making use that the inmates also work on the field in addition to any other human being that the government believe that they can also be on the field. Let us all, get the take off our shirts and then, turn our backs 90 degrees to the sun and work. This is the time that we need to work and redeem ourselves from the shackles and tentacles of neocolonialism and build a society we can call our own.
Doc, I must have missed something. You said Dr. Bawumia went to the shrine? I didn't see that.
So I saw that in Ningwa areas.
Okay.
It was there. I saw the videos were out there. Well, they perform right while you were seated. It's clear. If you want to find Shiti, you will find that.
Okay.
And Muslims, I'm not a Muslim, but I'm very close to Muslims. And these are things that they were not happy with. I mean, there's nothing wrong that when, you go to a constituency, you want to talk, there are shrines, you can talk outside. But for a Muslim to go to such places, talk to Muslims, and they will realize they were very, very uncomfortable. And for me, that was one of the things that also contributed. But more was on the issue of economy, where he was supposed to help when we needed him most. He was far away from the action spot.
Okay. Well, I mean, Ajasafo is saying that it's the neglect of the party's grassroots in the Ashanti region. That was the key factor, according to her. But let me add two more stories from the news center. It says Finance Minister touts cedi stability against the US dollar. And Finance Minister Dr. Kasiel Atoforsen has announced that the Ghanaian cedi has remained stable against the US dollar since February 19th, 2025 on the interbank forex market. And he says that as of March 14, 2025, the exchange rate stood at 15.53 to a dollar, reflecting a depreciation of 5.3% improvement compared to the 5.7% depreciation recorded last year. And last thing I want to add, after urges removal of non-tariff barriers to empower women and youth, the African Continental Free Trade Area Coordination Office has called for the urgent removal of non-tariff and some technical trade barriers to unlock the full potential of the AFTA, particularly for women and youth-led businesses. Draw quick reflections on these, and we'll go to other stories.
I think there's something that I want to look at, the issue of judgment debt. Yes, you touch on. Can we touch on that?
Yes, but Doc, I'm sorry. I understand Dr. Jibril Mohammed is with us now. Let me just usher him and welcome him. Doc, thank you for joining the conversation. Good morning.
Good morning to you, Sweetie. How are you?
I'm fabulous. I hope you.
To all our listeners.
Right.
I think I have been behind the scenes when all the stories were being told.
Okay.
Honestly speaking, I think I will take the last one. I don't want to go back to the other ones too much.
It's okay. Go ahead. Yeah.
So critically, I know the city is really appreciating, but in recent times, we have also seen a slow depreciation in the rate of the city. I think that the managers of the economy are putting in their best to ensure that they stabilize the city. And that is what businesses and we as individuals are looking for. We do not want to see the city falling as much as we saw in 2022 and even in 2023. We want to see stability in the city. If the city is well stabilized, you will notice that businesses can prosper and they can plan as well. If you don't have a stable currency, it's going to be extremely difficult for you to do a lot of planning. So I think that work must be done to ensure that we have good stability in terms of the city. And when that is done, we can see improvement in our standard of living because cost of living is going to be low as a result of lower depreciation rate. Another important thing we have to note is the AFTA. The AFTA is a very important trade connection between countries. So if you see people coming out to fight for some tariffs release and other things, it is extremely essential that we do that. It is only when we are able to break these barriers that we can have cross-border trading more efficient manner. If these barriers are not broken, then we are going to have a challenge with cross-border trading, and that is going to store the effectiveness of the AFTA. So the AFTA can only work and work efficiently if we are able to remove the barriers that hinder our trade-related activities. Can you imagine that you want to send something to Burkina Faso or to Nigeria, then there is going to be a tariff barrier when we have agreed that we are coming together as a continental trade. So continental trade means that we need to remove restrictions. We need to ensure that there is efficiency in your trade-related activities so that there is a flow of funds from one point to another. And recently, I think MTN came out with cross-border transfer of money using the app from Ghana to Nigeria.
Yeah.
That is going to facilitate trade, and it's going to improve the flow of funds from Ghana to Nigeria, and it's going to reduce the quantum of, even if we are going to be using dollars and other things to trade. Now you can trade in your local currencies, and this is the kind of innovation that we are looking for. If we are able to do this across Africa, where you can easily use your local currency and trade with another country's local currency, then it means that we are on our way to ensuring that we have African renaissance, we have a resilience in terms of Africa, we have African self-reliance, etc. So this is a way to promote Pan-Africanism.
Right.
And we have to ensure that we work efficiently to get that thing done. Lastly, on Dr. Bawumia, as you know, his defeat was as a result of his own challenges. Economically, the country was not doing well, and he touted himself to be an economic messiah. Meanwhile, he did nothing to solve the problems of the country. He engaged in certain things that did not inure to the benefit of the party, and also did not inure to the benefit of the general people of Ghana. You remember, leading up to the 2016 general election, he said a lot of things. He said that he has all the knowledge to be able to solve the economic problems of Ghana. Meanwhile, when the opportunity was given to him, it did nothing. He rather sent us to a very serious debt conundrum. He sent us to a very higher depreciation rate, a higher unemployment rate, a higher every economic aspect of the country, to the extent that our central bank went to debt, to the extent that our trade balances, everything was in negatives, etc. The economy was in such a bad state. So you cannot float such a candidate and anticipate that such a candidate is going to give you victory. The only thing he can give you is to give you a massive defeat. And that is how come that we received that kind of defeat that he had.
Right.
And you cannot disassociate him from the defeat. He was largely involved. All the activities he was doing, as a Muslim, what he did was not right. To go to the church and expect that people, they baptize you and all of that. You can visit them. Nothing is wrong with that. But you cannot go there and be receiving baptism and other kind of stuffs, and you call yourself a true Muslim. I mean, the Muslims will not be happy with you, and they will not vote for you because you are not being upright.
Well, thank you so much, Doc. But Dr. Kwame Asante, you wanted to reflect on these two stories about the CD, the finance minister touting a CD stability, and after urging us to remove non-tariff barriers to empower youth and women-led businesses. Quick thoughts on that.
Yeah, we need stability in our currency so as to be able to undertake effective business. Anytime we go down, we have problems on the entire economy. So we'll urge the new minister to be able to see where we went wrong so that you can correct them and then we don't repeat the mistakes. More often than not, we tend to criticize previous government only to come and do the same thing. I believe that now they will have a paradigm shift and then do the needful by building the foundation of the economy to be robust so that we can all go home and sleep.
Thank you so much. Ben, your paper.
Dr. Mohammed Jabir, I'd like to just start from here. You say that the former Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, didn't contribute anything positive to our economy. I mean, we all know that we were in dire straits, but is that a fair comment to pass, especially pre-2020 thereabouts? Is it fair to put the entire bulk of the economy and its management on the shoulders of one man, especially when he wasn't finance minister? What do you think? Just a quick thought on that.
Well, he was not the finance minister, but he was the economic management committee. He was the economic management committee chair. So if he was the chair, then the economy rests in his shoulders. If the economy had performed very well, he would have taken the credit. So if the economy performed badly, you have to be honorable to take the credit. That is how come that he's called His Excellency. To be called Your Excellency simply means that you have to be honorable. It's just a replacement of the word honorable. And you are given His Excellency. So you should take every good leader should take a blame and every good leader should take a credit. So if the economy was terrible, then it means that he has the knowledge to be able to fix it. All the economic ideas and everything was passing through him. Was it not coming to cabinet? Was it not coming to this? Wouldn't he have given a fair advice of what to do and what not to do? So if he had the opportunity to do that and he failed to do it, then he should be taking the blame. We should not take only the blame to the finance minister. Though the finance minister was also involved, but he was also critically involved in the governance and the affairs of the country. So you cannot isolate him for not performing well and you say that he did not perform well, and for that matter, the finance minister is the one responsible for everything. If there was good figures, you would tax it. Before 2020, we had good growth. They were touting themselves to be doing very well. You remember he organized a program and said that they have the men. And he shouted and mentioned so many people's names and said that this person, that Janbafo, Akuto Osai, Kenoforiata, etc. He mentioned all kinds of names. And he said that they have a solid team. So if you have a solid team and the solid team is performing abysmally, you have to admit that you yourself, you are not solid.
Right.
It means that the economy was not really good because of you.
Right.
So just admit it.
Should we say by extension, and I slightly disagree from the standpoint of the economic management team, it's convention that the vice president heads it. It doesn't mean the vice president must be a know-it-all on the economy. The problem, however, is what you've said, where the former president will say, Bawumia, and those kinds of things, the economic wastegate, those were the problems attached to him. But I'm situating it from the context. You know, the minority now, in terms of the budget, they say that in the debate in Parliament, the Vice President, Professor Nana Jane Opoku-Agyeman, should also be there. And that is how people are stretching it. Bawumia's case was peculiar. A Vice President heading the economic management team must not necessarily be an economist, maybe not even be essentially economic savvy. The person just heads it, just like the police council with the Vice President. Don't you agree?
I do agree in an extent, but the fact of the matter is that is why the vice president have economic advisors. So it does not necessarily mean that she herself has to come and stand in the box and make an argument. She can come with her advisors, and her advisors will answer all questions related to the economy. She doesn't have to do that. But, you know, any decision that is going to be made, the advisors are going to give her a clear view of what is supposed to happen. And so she takes her decision based on what advisors give her. We cannot, John Mahama was not an economist, but when he was the chairman of the economic management team, he could report that he did ABCD, right? And he still says that, and his people says that they tout him for doing well when he was not even an economist. And if you were to be an economist and you are put over there, at least you should have a significant progress. We had a good progress 2017 to 2019. And why is it that for that one, he didn't run away for saying that he was a chairman of the economic management team? And why is it that when something bad happened, he ran away and said that, after all, being an economic chairman does not necessarily mean that you are the one in charge of the economy. So let us not run away from responsibility and always say that in terms of politics, we always argue that when it is good, we attribute it to ourselves. When it is bad, we run away from it. That is a bad leadership. And I think, in my candid opinion, it's not the right thing to do.
Gentlemen, just give me 1 minute before I get into the papers. I'll start with you, Dr. Kwame Asante. Friday, the 21st, is International Day of Forests. I'm very passionate about it. Yesterday, I met 2 environmental activists, one from the US, one from right here in Ghana. And around the same time, Parliament was due to look into the issue of LI 2462, right? And to their chagrin, it did not pass because of some of the concerns raised by the minority, the pre-laying, Bernard Ahia for saying the committee will have some 3 days to look into it, and then after which, if it's not done, they will proceed. But the interesting point there for me, the attempt by the majority to create a situation where the president cannot grant licenses in forest reserves, and the minority saying no, we don't subscribe to that. How do you react to it? Because those environmentalists I was sitting with, they felt that should be the natural course, that we must maybe take away these powers so that presidents can come and say, oh, go into forest reserves. But the minority said no. What is your take on that? I'll start with you, Dr. Kwame Asante. Brief thoughts.
I think I'll commend the party, the NPP, the NDC government, for that bold step. They promised us that when given the mandate, they will work around it. And we are seeing exactly that. The differences is to be expected in Parliament. But at the end of the day, what I look forward to seeing is that they will all galvanize support to kick away that ugly law so that nobody goes into mining in that area. That is, for me, that is more important. But I know that even push come to shove, they'll go with numbers and NDC will carry the day. So what the NDC have in mind as something that they're going to work with, I know will reign supreme at the end of the day. But I want them to take the conversation further. After the repeal of this existing ally, we want to see action on the forest, on our water bodies, so that we deal with this problem. It's becoming, a headache for us. So the earlier they dealt with this, the better.
Right. Dr. Jabir Mohammed, quick thoughts.
Yeah, responsible governance is very important. And I will commend the majority for taking that bold decision. If you look at countries like Sweden, families have forests where they even sell, in terms of the wood, they also sell the sell carbon credit to companies that want to buy it. And I think that forest reserves are meant for ecological support to the country and even to our existence of living. If you look at the SDGs, life on land, I think SDG 15 is very critical on that. And in my candid opinion, I think that our forest reserves should not be a place to go. Imagine that we destroy all the forests mainly just for gold. What is it going to happen to our wood industry? We have to roof our houses, we have to do other things, and we need timber. We cannot fall all of that just for few individuals to benefit. The existence of the forest makes everybody to benefit. In recent times, you realize that the sun is very hot. It's because of these distractions that will cause to our ozone layer, will cause to our forest reserves and all of that.
Right.
And I think that a law that bans any future president from going there, they should even make it an entrenched law so that it will prevent any future irresponsible president to go there to destroy our forests. I think it has to be done, and it has to be done properly.
All right. The Daily Graphic now. Agric budget too small for impact. CEO asserts at PricewaterhouseCoopers post-budget forum. Then there's 2025 budget inspires hope. That's according to the Institute of Statistical, Social and Economic Research, ISA. Then GCB launches MSE Group loans. On the back page, NADMO supports Laboni SHS after fire incident. The Ghana National Fire Service suspects electrical cause, and Assemblies of God retired ministers' spouses undergo free health screening. It's interesting, this story about the Laboni fire, because the president has recently lamented the number of fires in the country. I believe over 6,000 he was pointing to. I'll get those details. But the National Disaster Management Organization has donated relief items to Laboni Senior High School following a fire that gutted 3 girls' dormitories of the school last Sunday. The donation, made in collaboration with the Ministry of Education and the Greater Accra Regional Coordinating Council, is to provide immediate comfort to the displaced students and support the rebuilding of the damaged dormitories. The items included 300 pieces of mattresses, 350 pieces of plastic buckets, 350 pieces of plastic plates and cups, and it goes on and on. But how do we cure this incidence of fires every now and then, which the president himself has had to lament about? Then the Chief Executive Officer of Agri-Impact Group, Daniel Akwe, has stated that the budget allocation to agriculture is inadequate for driving national economic transformation. He said with only 1.5 billion Ghana cedis, approximately 100 million allocated to agriculture out of the 279 billion Ghana cedi national budget, the sector received just 0.54% of the total government spending. Then let me just add page 13, and then we can make tracks. 2025 budget inspires hope, according to ISA. So tax reliefs provided for in the 2025 budget inspire hope to help reduce hardships on citizens and ease the high cost of doing business, the Institute of Statistical, Social, Economic Research of the University of Ghana has said. And it says the 2025 budget was very ambitious with several tax reliefs to cushion taxpayers. Quick reflections on these stories. Gentlemen, I'll start with you, Dr. Hassan Asante.
I'll look at the agric budget, the budget that was the money earmarked for agricultural purposes. If the experts are saying it's too small, I think, I don't know, that they can add something to it. Because you see, I would have wished that the country will put in, the government will put in a lot under agriculture, because that is the way we can begin and begin well. look at the large army of unemployed youth that we can engage in the fields of agriculture. So we put in more, we get more. And that will support not only to deal with what the the looming food crisis, but also create jobs for us. And then it will also support industry for us too. Issue of the economy inspiring hope. Yes, if the experts are saying this, who are we to challenge that? But we want to see that hope reflecting in our pocket, reflecting in our lives, that improve our lot, so that we can say that they are not just mere figures, but they are realities on the ground. We want to see economy where people from school will have something to work on, so that they will not go to other jurisdiction and then, display their passport that, yeah, they were bright and they have a beautiful passport, it's better than Ghana's and all that. Those countries sat down and built their own. Let us also build here so that our people will be attracted to here and then work and support the cause of what? The country. Issue of Laboni fires, very unfortunate. And we have seen a lot of stories relative to what? Fires in this country. I don't know what is happening. And very often we go into this report that are generated out of this thrown away. We don't see the effect of the reports on that, and we keep on having this. You ask yourself, those public places, do they have fire extinguishers? Do they have all the needed apparatus to deal with some of these problems? I don't know, but it's becoming one too many. So we'll urge the government to find lasting solution, because we cannot be lucky all the time.
All right, Dr. Mohammed, quick thoughts.
Okay, I'll start with agriculture. The agricultural value chain is a wide one, from production to distribution to the final consumer. Agri-business is very important. And I think that what has been cited, I don't know whether it's the entire budget of the agricultural sector or it's just for agri-business, part of it. I haven't been able to clearly look at the budget, but I believe that it is about looking at it from...
Well, it's 1.5 billion Ghana cedis for agriculture. I also had my concerns about it, but I believe this should be the total sum.
2.5 billion or 1.5?
It's 1.5 billion over here.
So that is even lower than the Office of the Government Machinery budget. Food is very essential to all of us, and promoting our cultural activities can help us to stimulate the economy and ensure that we have growth. I think that maybe there are other sources that the cultural sector can source funds from. So, for instance, the Presidential Special Initiative on Agri-business is one component of it. And you notice that agri-business has also been taken to the Ministry of Trade and Industry. That is another element of it. So the Office of the Government Machinery can allocate some budget to support the agri-business aspects. And so I think that it's not too small. It's about how you utilize the funds.
Right.
If you're able to utilize the funds and utilize it efficiently, and you have your projections of growth right, then you should have the outcome.
Right.
Remember that we are more interested in efficiency of utilization of the funds, not just about the funds that is allocated to you. Another issue I think I want to touch is about whether the budget inspires hope or not. Yes, it does inspire hope, but we believe that it should reflect in the lives of the people, it should reflect in the profit margins of businesses, and it should reflect in creating jobs and prosperity among the youth when they come out of school. We do not want to run a budget and at the end of the day, just few people become rich and the rest of us become poor and poorer. Right. We want to run a budget that is more distributional in nature and that is more impactful rather than just for a few people to benefit. Now, if you look at the fire incident, we need to critically look at the way we wire our place, our houses. Electrical wiring is very important. I don't know what may have triggered the effect of the fire, but we need to ensure that we investigate and ensure that we implement the reports being reported. Every time and every now and then, reports of fire incidents are being reported. What is really actually causing it? And we have done a lot of plethora of committees have worked on reports. The problem about Africa and even Ghana is that it's our implementation. We come out with all the beautiful research, all the beautiful work output, yet implementation becomes highly porous.
Right.
So if we don't implement our policies very well, we cannot have the full benefit of it.
And like I was intimating, I found the story. It's on myjoyonline.com, I believe. And the president stated that last year there were 6,436 cases of fires documented. And he was urging the acting chief fire officer of the Ghana National Fire Service to strictly implement fire safety regulations and enhance public education on fire prevention and response. And that means all of us must get involved. Some quick international stories, and then I'll wrap with the rest of my papers very briefly. Dutch king highlights human rights during state visit to Kenya, and I'm talking about King Willem-Alexander in Nairobi. He said, quote, "The people of Kenya, like those of the Netherlands, want their rights as free citizens to be respected and their voices heard." Of course, it's on the back of some mounting allegations of human rights abuses in Kenya. Strike on markets in North Mali kills 18. Trump, Putin discuss Ukraine war, talks going well, and we've heard some news on that on the international front. And Poland, Baltic nations plan to withdraw from landmine convention. The Ghanaian Times regurgitates some of the stories we've done. 2025 budget inspirational, according to ISA. Make prisons transformative centers, president to new prisons boss. Acquisition of Ghana Bauxite Company Limited by OPLC followed due diligence. That's according to the GBCL. But a story that interests me, one from the Ghanaian Times, one from the Accra Times, and I'm done. Ghana records annual shortfall of 330,000 units of blood. That's according to the National Blood Service. Every year, we have problems with this for a while now. I donate every year, a number of times every year, but the shortfalls mean that sometimes you would have some deaths that could be avoided because you go to some of these, especially, I wouldn't say especially the public ones, but all of them, and sometimes you don't have blood, and without that, it becomes a serious problem. Soldier, 4 others shot dead in Boku, Nanumba. And the Accra Times, 24-hour economy policy. NDC, NPP MPs express opinions after policy advisors' presentation. I don't know whether you followed that, but I take your quick thoughts. So I want you to focus on the blood, shortage of blood, 330,000 pints, units of blood. Soldier, 4 others shot dead in Boku, and 24-hour economy. Quick thoughts. I'll start with you this time, Dr. Mohammed.
Yeah, the blood, I think we need to put in strategic measures to ensure that we increase the blood bank. We have to intensify education and tell people that it is important to donate. Myself, I have donated once in my life, and I haven't done so since then. I think that our health is very important. We can use our educational institutions. We can the Ghana Health Service should intensify education. We can use all our universities, yes, in particular. Most of the workplaces that have a lot of workers, we can encourage them to donate and all of that. And there should be incentives to people who donate. I should not donate blood when I'm coming to look for blood and I'll be made to pay for it. We need to create such incentives. If the person donates blood, there should be a system. You put the person name there. If the person family member needs blood or something like that, then you can refer to it. And if the person needs, let's say, 6 bottles of blood, you give if the person donated about 2 or 3, you supply that 2 or 3 and sell the other ones to the person. It should not just be like, I come and donate and that is it. Right. When I need it, I have to go and buy. It doesn't encourage people to donate.
Right.
Another important thing I want to talk about is the 24-hour economy. I did not fully follow it, but I saw some synopsis of it. I saw that they wanted to make a regulation in terms of the tariffs structure, time of the day use. It means that we have peak season and we have off seasons in terms of power tariff structure. Right. So in terms of peak season, where a lot of people are using the power, the cost has to go up. In terms of lean season, people are using it less, so costs have to be down. So they want to encourage people to produce in such period so that they can give them a low tariff structure. You and I know very well that the power sector is already in crisis. So they are saying that they are putting in legislation to ensure that they stabilize the sector.
Okay.
And there are other areas that strategic measures are being put in place to ensure that the program is fully rolled out. Okay. I do hope that if they are able to do everything and do it well, we will have things working efficiently.
All right, we're out of time. Let me give a bite to Dr. Asan Asante, and then it's a wrap. Doc?
Yeah, I'll look at the blood shortage and matters arising.
Right.
It is a critical component in health delivery. So if there are shortfalls, I think authorities know what to do.
Right.
And they should do it without wasting time. The issue of the shooting incident in Boku, it's a sorry story. We want peace there, but I'm happy that this government is putting in its all to be able to address this issue. But we as a society must support government in this endeavor.
Thank you, gentlemen. Salim Fit says, good morning, AM show on Joy News. It is the birthday of Hubert Awanu in the Eastern region, and I'm wishing him a happy birthday and all the best. You sent that on our show, so a very happy birthday to you, Hubert Awanu in the Eastern region. Sweetie.
Yes, we're wrapping, but I do want to leave you with these headlines and maybe wrap on a lighter note. The custodian upon Kroma exposes NDC's massive discrimination as Mahama gives 10% pay rise to public sector workers and over 720% salary increase for presidential staffers. Mahama's official X account hacked, Bawumia cannot be blamed for NPP's defeat. But in the publisher, Ghanaian publisher, Bauxite Company defends OPCL acquisition process, rejects all allegations. The story I want us to end on is Gobe, affordable Ghanaian meal turned pricey dish under media influence. What do you make of this? So now, Gobe used to be 5-7 cedis. It's selling for 20 and 40 cedis, depending on where you're buying it from. I think this is a delicacy that we should, re-examine how much we're selling it for. But thank you all so much for joining us. Dr. Kwame Asante, Head, Center for European Studies at the University of Ghana. Dr. Jibril Mohammed, Senior Lecturer, University of Ghana Business School. Thank you. Muftan Abil Abdullahi serves as AM Sports Now.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to AM Sports here with me, Muftau Nabila Abdullahi. On Friday, the Black Stars of Ghana will be in action against Chad as they continue their participation to ensure that they secure a ticket to participate in the next FIFA World Cup that will be happening in the USA, Mexico, and Canada. On Tuesday, Black Stars head coach Otoado had a full squad available for training session at the Accra Sports Stadium. And my colleague, Joseph Ayinga Walter, was at the stadium and has details in this report.
The Black Stars just completed their second training session here at Accra Sports Stadium ahead of their crucial World Cup qualifier against Chad on Friday. Today was a bit different outlook and dimension as the team welcomed their captain, Jordan Ayew. The sad news is that Elisha Owusu will be out of the team due to injury, and in that matter will be replaced by Lawrence Ejekum. 23 players gathered here at Accra Sports Stadium to train with the team. In terms of training, the team engaged in 10v1 training and shooting drills as the team look forward to make it up on Friday.
It's good to have a full house here. Every manager, every coach, every gaffer would love to have a full team, especially on the second day of his training. It's a very short window, and you would want to have your full squad just to make sure that everyone acclimatizes with everything, the weather, the pitch, the environment and everything, especially with the new players coming on board. Team telepathy is important, so I think they are on track to beat Chad on Friday. I don't see beating Chad as a problem for these lads at all, and they may as well continue against Madagascar and Morocco come Monday.
It's a positive sign looking at the numbers, having a full house training today on day 2. Personally, I believe it's a full house, looking at how even the supporters were gearing up and hoping that the Black Stars will change the results they had in the AFCON qualifiers. We know that Oto has 2 wins in the World Cup qualifiers against Mali and Central African Republic, so hopes are high.
Some members of the Black Stars ESCO team are here in their numbers, likewise the FA president, Ket Okweku, and Hearts of Oak goalkeeper Benjamin Asari is whom a lot of fans are singing his name here at Accra Sports Stadium. his saves and some exploits he's been displaying here is tremendous, and it's really fun watching him. Reporting from the Accra Sports Stadium, my name is Joseph Ahinga Walter.
And the ticket prices for this game that will be happening on Friday ranges from 200 Ghana cedis to 10 Ghana cedis. So 10 Ghana cedis is the lowest, and 200 Ghana cedis is the highest. About 80% of the stadium capacity tickets will be sold out to football fans because, according to the sports minister, some aspects of the stadium, due to integrity concerns, will not be allowed to host supporters to watch the game. Let's hear from the sports minister himself, who has dismissed concerns by many Ghanaians that the Black Stars players are not committed to the national cause.
For me, I've seen the players that they are motivated themselves. It is not money. If it's about money, many of them already are earning more than whatever it is that we are going to give them. So it is not about the money. What they want are good pitches, a good pitch to be able to play on, and that we are working on. The lighting system appropriate, we are working on. And we're making sure that they have all the technical departments to be able to support the analysis of the opponents and the rest. We have worked on that also. So things that must be done for them to have a good environment to perform, we have put all those things in place. As for money, anyone who thinks that it is money that will make them to perform is deceiving himself or herself. Because it's not about money. Some of them, what they earn in a week, you can't pay them that even for a month. If they ask you to pay that for them for a month, we can't do that. So it's not about money. So money for me is the last thing that I'm considering. But I'm considering the conditions under which they will be playing. The pitch, the lightning, the environment in their dress rooms, and then what have you. These are things that are of concern to me. And of course, the technical department of the team, that how reinforced it is, how are they analyzing, what information have they collected on the opponent's players, and to share with the individual players in terms of strategy. So if you are telling a player that this is how I want you to play, the player knows that you are giving him this role because this is what you have assessed of the opponent. And you read to see if there's any variation. You will vary as the match progress. So for me, these are things that we are doing. It's not about money at all.
And the final aspect of renovations in the Accra Sports Stadium is currently ongoing. As at the time the Black Stars players were training, engineers were also on site working. My colleague, Mubarak Haruna, caught up with the engineers and the National Sports Authority Director General, Yao Ampofa Ankra, and had a conversation with them. There are details in this report.
Yes, the metals that are rusted, we can maintain them and reinforce them, revamp them to become stronger. The chemical we're using, I want to show you. Okay. It's neutral rust. Okay. 661 converter. Okay. This chemical has been in existence for 40 years. Oh, okay. You can see here, we want to help the National Football Association. This we are doing free for now. Yes, it's
so you are not charging a penny from the work that you are doing. You are just doing it voluntarily.
Yeah, voluntarily. Okay. To make sure the games. This is VIP entrance. We need to put it in order so that when our people are coming, it will not look like a mess. So we saw this and said we are going to come and do it just to maintain it. So this will be here for 10 years, like I said, and you don't need any other maintenance. What you need is to apply the color. It's a primer also. You apply the color that you want, and that will help a lot.
You're starting on a very good note, and people should watch out for positive changes, but in time, there's a lot of things that will take time, and it's a process. So the first thing is Black Stars, supported Black Stars on Friday. The rates are very reduced. Come with your family. We're making sure the environments will be conducive for families and friends to come and have an experience. On match day, and your match, you have some entertainment. It's a gradual process, but Oba Stadium, you should feel, you are in a good place, you are in a safe place to be entertained, to have something to eat, to drink, every department and facet of a day out at the stadium, whether it's Accra Sports Stadium, Babayara, should be an experience for the fans. Mr. Rubia, Mumbra and Mumbe support the Black Stars and have a good experience.
Yampoafo Ankara is the Director General of the National Sports Authority. Currently, he is acting because per the civil service standards of recruitment, he has 6 months probation period, and after 6 months, automatically, his employment becomes a permanent one. Now, let's hear from the founder of Rise to Dream Academy, Tom Vernon. He says that Ghana's business space is not conducive enough to be able to retain businesses. He cited the example of Red Bull Academy as well as Firenot that have all left Ghana at a time that he was starting Right to Dream Academy. He believes that because the system is created in a way that businesses are not retained, is the reason why the system is quite difficult to produce some of the best talents.
I think that the starting point is to develop a national talent identification strategy, but also a global talent identification strategy. You know, we lose a lot of our sons and daughters of Ghana to other countries' national teams. So we need to start with the identification of our youth. But beyond that, I believe that we can be much more proactive in recruiting the most talented Ghanaians in the diaspora. Secondly is to establish a public-private partnership, talent development free zone, or as in America, you might call it an opportunity zone. These are tax incentivized regions of the country. We know this very well in the agri sector with our free zones within Ghana, but I think there's the potential for a talent free zone or a talent opportunity zone that can actually make investment into Ghana talent much more compelling from a tax incentives perspective. And then thirdly, to establish a public-private partnership for a national sports and entertainment hub. The minister mentioned some of the most exciting countries, but another that has really excelled in entertainment in sports in Africa in the last few years is Rwanda, where we've seen so many of the best sports events on the continent going to a country which has no reputation until very recently within sports. So I think a hub for sports entertainment is also very possible. So if we talk about talent ID and development, how would I approach that? Through the formation of the Talent Identification and Development Corporation that would remain firmly in control of the government of Ghana, you would define the national framework, as the minister mentioned, through which all talent identification and development partnerships would be operated. And this, I think, is a crucial point, because when people talk about attracting investment into Ghana sports, if we take football specifically, we haven't struggled to attract investment, we've struggled to retain it. Ajax, Feyenoord and Red Bull combined probably invested 100 million euros into their academies in Ghana, and they've all left. And one of the reasons that they've left is because there was no coherent national framework for them to plug into. So they came and did their own thing with very little advice, with very little guidance and support, and as a result, we've lost them, and they could have been significant contributors to the national agenda. My starting point would be through artificial intelligence solutions, which I believe should be embraced very quickly within talent identification, is to assess the individual talents of each of Ghana's 800,000 12-year-olds today.
The Ghana Premier League March Day 20 outstanding matches will be happening later today. Kumasi Asante Kotoko, they are coming up against Young Apostles, and their head coach, Prosper Nate Ergum, says that they will go all out to secure a win in this contest.
We are going there with a determined, confident and winning mentality. That's what we're taking there. We believe that we are capable of playing very well. We are capable of staying very disciplined defensively. We are capable of unlocking their defense, create the chances and score. So we are very determined, very confident, and we believe that we can create the chances and score.
So your team will keep hold of the top position. And looking at the points gap, the differences on the first top 4 in the league. I think the competition is very keen. Are we fending off the chase from the rest from this game?
I think it has been like that over the years when it comes to competing for the league trophy in Ghana. Always the point gaps are so close to each other. It's about keeping the momentum going. So if you want to still be at the top, all that we have to do is that we'll win games and then we'll still be able to keep our position at the summit of the league log. Every pre-training conversation, I talk to the players about it. Post-training conversations, I talk to them about it. When I meet them one-on-one, you've been a witness to these things I'm talking about.
And that is your sports for now. We do have more sports stories on myjoyonline.com. The AM show continues right after this.
Welcome back. It's still the AM show on Joy News, and it's time now for us to serve you AM Business. Now, Ghana's tertiary students are redefining entrepreneurship, balancing academics with businesses that drive campus economies. With support from incubation centers and industry leaders, they're shaping the future of Ghana's SMEs. Helen Nakai Ayi has more in today's report for AM Business.
Across Ghana's tertiary institutions, a quiet revolution is unfolding. Here, young individuals believe they can harness business prowess for varying reasons in addition to their academic work. They are young individuals who are not just chasing grades, they are creating jobs, boosting campus economies, and laying the foundation for Ghana's next wave of SMEs. Bakari Abdul Rashid Aloysius is one of such students who identified a need to provide bicycle services as a means of transportation for students.
Level 100, I was staying at Commonwealth, and at the same time I was doing electrical repairs in the hall, so people's extension, kettles, those things, you know, they get spoiled, and then sometimes I need certain materials I need to buy, like the fuse, which means that I either have to take a taxi or have to walk from Commonwealth to Ninth Market, or either go to Medina. So that was quite challenging because considering the amount the taxis were taking, it was a bit demanding. So I felt like, oh, if I had my own bicycle on campus, it would have eased my movement. Moreover, people call you from different halls, which you have to move to those places. And so taking taxi and then how much would you take from the person, it was just something else. So I felt like if I had, you know, my own bicycle on campus, it would go a long way with my, you know, business. So a year down the line, I think I got the opportunity to come to this hall. But this hall seemed a bit farther from the lecture halls. And I remember I initially had a plan to, you know, get a bicycle. Then the thought came to me that, oh, but don't you think there are other people who are also running businesses or other students who might be in your shoes? They need bicycle for their daily commuting, especially going to buy food, running errands and all that. So don't you think it was a good idea? And, you know, fast forward, I called my dad, explained everything to him, and he said, oh, well, that's fine. If you think it's something good, you can go about it. I give you the go-ahead. So just how many bicycles do you need? I said, okay, for a start, just to, you know, try and see how best it's going to go. I said 2 bikes for the meantime. So I got the 2 bikes and made a flyer, you know, disseminated it around. People helped me share. And I think the first day, second day, third day, I wasn't seeing any response. It was as if, you know, maybe the publication wasn't that much, but some few days down the line, I think 2 ladies called me. Yeah, the first people to patronize me were ladies.
For Aloysius, the ability to juggle between academic work and his business is his ability to properly manage his time.
If I say it doesn't interfere with my studies, I will be lying. But it all boils down to how you are able to manage your time, how best you know yourself, how you're able to cover things and all that.
It's 6:30 a.m. in the morning. Unlike a typical student getting ready for class, Alex Kwashi and Emmanuel Lopong have to make it in time for the bakery in order to supply bread across various halls and other institutions. They were pushed by financial needs, and with time, they are nursing a dream of opening Passion Bakery in the nearest future.
Looking at my finances, I was the one who was financing my education, and then because of how tough it became, I sat down to think about a business that I can start, which can give me money. So the bread business, the idea actually came from my co-partner. He brought the idea, he suggested the idea to me if, what do I think about us selling bread on campus? I was like, oh, it's powerful. So we came together with some funds, and then we came to take 7 loaves of bread. So the first day we started with 7 loaves of bread because we were afraid that people buy or people will not buy. So on the normal day we wake up by 6:30, then we get to the bakery by 7:30. Then we count for the number of loaves we have to count for, and by 8 we distribute them to the people who are working for us on campus. So on the normal day, that's what we do. And then now by God's grace, we're able to distribute 250 to 300 loaves of bread every day. The business has helped me very, very much in the sense that I don't depend on people like how I used to. Those times you have to text people to raise money from them and all. Some people will ignore you, some people will tell you their mind. But now, by God's grace, I'm able to buy my food, I'm able to buy clothes on myself, I'm able to pay my fees, and even help other people financially too. So in the future, the plan we have for the business is to have a bread factory, and also like the way A1 bread has a name, we also want to reach that point.
Emmanuel, a business partner to Alex, emphasizes how he leverages social media in promoting their business.
We share soft copies of our flyer. We are on social media, TikTok and Instagram. So when we sell to you, we give you the information, and also my number is given to them. Yes, so they call me, then I let our boys do the deliveries so that I relate to the customers to make sure that there is that customer relation.
Institutions have rather taken notice of a gap and now support entrepreneur endeavors through training programs, startup grants, and incubation centers. Founder and CEO of iSpace Foundation, Josiah Eisen, underscores this gap and highlights how his outfit is geared in shaping student-based startups to fruition.
We recognize the challenge and actively working to kind of build the gap, or should I say build the bridge over this gap between students, entrepreneurs, and then long-term business sustainability, right? So our approach usually includes mentorship, coaching, where we then connect students with industry founders who have experience in entrepreneurship, and then they're able to kind of guide them in terms of business development, fundraising, and then market positioning. Then we also look at incubation and accelerating programs, where we run programs that help students refine their business model, test their ideas, and then access funding opportunities, literally. And then some of the students, again, we provide them with investment readiness support. So many students struggle to fund their business mainly due to lack of funding. So then we help these students prepare for investment by helping them refine their pitch decks, structure their business models, and then link them up with potential investors and things like grants, really, that do exist. One of the key things that we also focus on is always going to be community and networking. We believe that entrepreneurship thrives in a strong ecosystem. What do we mean by that is looking at the environment in which something can grow in. So what is the best conducive environment for a student to be in? So then that is networking. So we provide an environment for them to be able to then do a network with other like-minded individuals. We provide workshops. We provide access to a vibrant community of entrepreneurs and other industry players and partners. And for us, we believe that by embedding the student in this ecosystem while they're still in school, will then give them the greater chance of surviving and scaling the businesses after they graduate.
Josiah Asen urged student entrepreneurs to build a strong foundation to their businesses that will transcend the borders of campus.
Most student businesses will die out because they're tied to the university environment. So from day one, plan for the growth beyond the campuses that you find yourself as, whether it's through partnerships, funding, or digital expansion. So maybe you put yourself online rather than just focus on the students that you have. Put yourself online for other people to be able to experience that amazing idea that you have.
Like iSpace Foundation, the Ghana Chamber of Young Entrepreneurs has a heartbeat for student entrepreneurs and is not only poised to mentor them, but to guide them.
We take our programming to the various schools. So we have the Students Incubator Program, where we incubate ideas from students and turn these ideas into bankable businesses. We also have the Student Accelerator Program. So for students that are already having businesses, we put them in this program that we train them and then accelerate their businesses. At the end of the day, we connect them to our Young Entrepreneurs and Startup Support Fund, where we give them some funding to start their businesses. Aside that, we do the Student Entrepreneurship Challenge, where we bring together students to compete with ideas, for some sort of funding and training programs. And we largely do capacity building programs across to ensure that students have the needed entrepreneurial mindset to be able to grow businesses. We also conduct mentorship, where we link students who want to be entrepreneurs to existing entrepreneurs so they can learn hands-on on how to start, groom, and sustain businesses. Aside that, we do what we call apprenticeship to entrepreneurship or attachment to entrepreneurship. We work with student bodies to get interested students who want to pursue business as a career, and then we link them to some of our members who are looking for certain particular technical skills and allow these young people to do some sort of attachment with the students to be able to learn. The idea is that for the Ghana Chamber of Young Entrepreneurs, we want every young person, be it in school or out of school, who have the interest to become an entrepreneur, you receive the needed mentorship, capacity building, and access to funding that you can be able to start, grow, and scale your business.
Chief Executive Sharif Gali says, running a business without a business plan is equal to running a business on hope, hoping that it will someday get better. According to him, a plan is very essential to enable businesses rightly stand in the business world.
I have seen this. A lot of young people come to my office. Oh, Mr. CEO, want to do business? We learn the Ghana Chamber of Young Entrepreneurs are helping young people to do business. I want to go into business. I have this idea. Now, when you ask them, what is the idea? They start on their head. They will give you a very perfect one out of head. But when you ask them, so what do you have to, back this plan or this business, and there's nothing to write home about. So it's quite unfortunate that a lot of young people do business in their head. And the funny thing is that no investor like me or any other person would put out my money in somebody who just have an idea in their head. So no matter what it is, you must always at all point in time try to have a plan. Put your business in a plan or in a document that I can be able to pick out even without you and know what you really seek to do.
Meet Gifty Adobwa, a young graduate who has been able to pull her business along even after completion of school. Driven by passion, she has foreseen a future where her business will evolve from just an online business into a walk-in shop.
It actually started like something I was passionate about, and in fact I am still passionate about it. Since it's basically out of passion, then I just keep on enjoying what I am doing. It's a business, all right, but I enjoy what I am doing. And now there are other benefits I gain from it, like it takes care of me. It's able to, you know, keep me in this Accra life. And so I mean, I'm holding it as a business, but then I still love it. And then, yeah, the two together, it makes me choose to, you know, continue to do it. It's all about wig making, right? I wouldn't really say hairstylist, but then it's something I'm also learning on the job. You know, the more you keep doing, the more you get, you know, other insights in the field of wig making. So it's just wig making. There are times I have people who reach out and then I enroll them in the arts of wig making. But then I feel that before this year ends, it's going to be bigger than just wig making. We're going to do hairstyling, like frontal installation, closure, braiding, and anything salon service.
Beyond the individual success stories lies a bigger picture, the significant role student entrepreneurs play in supporting Ghana's SMEs. Sharif Gali expounds on its necessity to SME development in Ghana and to the GDP at large.
Most of the ventures from students infuse the market with fresh perspective and technological advancement that can stimulate job creation and economic diversification. When nurtured properly, they can evolve into robust SMEs that contributes significantly to the nation's economic development. If you look at the definition of an SME, small businesses are rated businesses that are run by somebody who has a certain number of employees from 0 to 6, I believe. So yeah, some of these student enterprises you see are literally small enterprises. So they form part of the SME population and they contribute to the whole economic advancement and the total gross domestic product, the GDP of the country. So if you are counting or taking the populations of SME, you should consider student enterprises that are contributing hugely.
These young entrepreneurs are not just creating businesses, they are inspiring a generation and shaping the future of Ghana's economy. The desire to build, innovate, and contribute to the nation's growth is alive and thriving on our campuses. For these students, entrepreneurship is not just a side hustle, it's a passion, a calling, and a transformative journey. The future of Ghana's SMEs starts here. I am Helen Nakai Ayi for Joy Business.
Welcome back on the AM show, and it's time now to have a conversation with someone you've probably not seen on your TV screens in quite a long while. Let's play a guessing game, yeah? She is, or she was, a female partner in the London office of DLA Piper, one of the world's largest firms, and the second ever black partner in the UK at an international law firm. But maybe that is still out there, right? She's a former legal advisor to President Kufuor. Maybe you're getting closer. And also a former deputy minister at the office of the president under John Agri-business Kufuor. She's an Oxford scholar. She was at the Said Business School, but also the first Ghanaian recipient of the Oxford University's Women's Scholarship and a founding council member of GARIA, that's the Companies Act, and CIRA. And she is also a chartered insolvency practitioner and a philanthropist. I'm talking about none other than Vickie Bright. And there she is. Vickie, good morning.
Good morning, Ben.
Let me try and remember. So you served under John Agri-business Kufuor somewhere in late 2004, actually.
Yes, at the end, yeah.
To the end of his term?
20, yeah, so I did the second term in full, yes.
The second term
but
in
I
full.
came literally right at the end of the first term.
So which one came first? Legal advisor before
Legal
becoming
advisor before. Yeah.
Deputy Minister?
It was more of a technical role before I became a Deputy Minister, yeah.
Okay. I'm curious, how did you get into politics?
Am I really a politician?
Well, you tell us.
I guess that's the question. I see myself more as someone who is a nationalist. You know,
Okay.
I'm really interested in the Ghana agenda rather than any political agenda per se. So it was something that I felt I was doing as a contribution to the development of the country, really.
Right. And since that time, I mean, 2008 leading into 2009 when the NPP lost the election, since that time you've been up to so many things. Before getting into politics and after supposedly exiting politics. What have you been up to?
Oh gosh, I've been here, there, and everywhere, Ben. I've done so many things. I worked, or still do actually. I'm a senior advisor at the late Madeleine Albright's outfit, headquartered in Washington, D.C.
The Madeleine Albright?
Yes, the Madeleine Albright.
Okay.
I did that, and I'm still doing that. I also co-own a law firm here in Ghana. I'm managing partner of that law firm. I have also done quite a lot of philanthropic work. One of the things I did actually in the philanthropic work was with one of your reporters in Kumasi, Love FM, Ohiming.
Ohiming Tewia.
Yes, he reported on a girl, a 13-year-old girl who had been defiled at the time.
Ooh.
And I was really touched by the story. I got in touch with him, and together I was able to, it was a very, very tragic story, and we were able to rehabilitate her, get her proper medical help and some counseling, and also relocate her and her mother to a nearby town because she couldn't go there because it was allegedly the chief who had defiled her. So I've done quite a lot of that kind of thing, donations to hospitals, that kind of thing. That's what I do in my with my philanthropic life. I do a lot of advice to multinationals, to presidents, you know, governments around the world, et cetera, et cetera. And I was also in Oxford, and, you know, that was a very humbling experience for me, you know, being at Oxford University, sitting in the hallowed ground and kind of weeping for Ghana's future at the time.
Weeping for Ghana's future.
Yes, at the time, simply because I just realized how far behind we are really as a nation, and we are blessed with so much. We have so many brilliant people, both here and outside the country, and what we could do, and also seeing how the world was evolving and where we fitted in within that whole structure. So yes, I have done quite a whole breadth of things.
It appears, I mean, we could do a whole show on what you've been up to, but let's talk about, since you've already started talking about how far we had fallen maybe from the dream, from the Nkrumah era to today. If you look at the state of Ghana today, through your well-traveled lenses, what do you see?
If you ask me how far we've come, I'll say, or how well we've done, I'll say we've done reasonably well. I would like to say it's good. I'd like to say it's great, but I'll just stop at reasonably well. And why am I saying that, Ben? I'm saying that because, look, we are currently at the brink of the fourth industrial revolution. The world is at the precipice of the fourth industrial revolution. Just as a reminder, the first industrial revolution was the era of the steam engine, when we had mechanized production, and then we had the era of electricity, where we had mass production. Then we had computers, where we then had automated production. And now, the fourth industrial revolution, we have AI, we have advanced robotics, we have quantum, physics and all of those things. So we are getting quantum computing, is what I meant to say. We're getting to a point where I'm using the word exponential because one quantum computer we will get to a point very soon, not in the too distant future, where one quantum computer will be like able to power, or will have the power, the capacity of like all the computers in the world. Imagine that. And it's not in the too distant future because China already has a prototype. Microsoft has a prototype. And they are thinking that within 3 to 5 years, they will actually, this thing will be real. So it's not so far-fetched. And where are we? We are still trying to cover the basics.
We are not even able to make computers of our own.
This is it.
The best we do is assembly.
This is it. So we are, I mean, the world is growing at an exponential rate. And we really need to do much more than we're doing. Look, China is building 1,000 or has built 1,000 kilometers an hour, railway. Yeah. There are people going into space, and we are also not. We have people we can also call on. Do you know, for example, that we have very celebrated Ghanaian artists here, and I'm talking about painting rather than music. I mean, we also have celebrated musicians, of course, right. But the reason why I bring this up is because one of those artists, do you know that his work is actually in space, and it was taken there by Jeff Bezos, Amazon. Okay. And I don't know how many Ghanaians know this.
Is it Ibrahim or
no,
which other one?
But Ibrahim is the other one.
Okay.
So we have brilliant people. Why are we not taking advantage of these people to actually contribute to the national development? And then you have the Niche Cocoa guy. I don't know how many people know that he's actually now the largest African investor in food and beverage in the US.
Yeah, he collaborated with, I don't know whether it's Germans or Americans, but he's doing it there.
And this is, these are big things. You have Fred Swanica, ALU, so we really ought to do better than we are doing. And, we are a country, we were a country of firsts. The first sub-Saharan country to gain our independence, et cetera, et cetera. We all know what we've done as a nation. So we're at a reasonable place. It's not a great place, but hey, perhaps we can get there.
We could have done better, but we are also not, it's not as though we have done nothing at all.
No, we haven't not done, nothing.
Right.
on double negatives. But we've done something. We've done something, but it's not far enough. And we could have done better given what we have and who we are as a nation.
The late, and may his soul rest in peace, Professor Chinua Achebe had a book titled The Trouble with Nigeria. It's a small book, but a great read. It literally, you can pick that book today and it will reflect all the problems you see in many African countries, including Nigeria, including Ghana today. And this was written in the late 70s or so?
Right.
And everything is still, it's like classic, African problems. When you look at Ghana, what is the problem with Ghana and the Ghanaian that you see?
I think, well, we have many problems, but I think we love mediocrity in this country. And I know
love mediocrity.
Yes, we love mediocrity. And I think people are not going to like me saying that. But we do tend to celebrate mediocrity here. People are shy to talk of their success. I mean, I have a friend who was telling me not too long ago that he's a private business person, and he was saying, oh, I just had a great trip with my wife, blah, blah, blah. I did really great. I had a great year, blah, blah, blah. But when people ask me how it is, I'm like, kakra, kakra, because he's just afraid to let people know that, hey, I had a great year. So it's things like that. I mean, we need to celebrate success more. We need to be, because we have brilliant people.
We should be more like the Nigerians?
Maybe
and maybe
not,
the Angolans?
Maybe not so ostentatious, because that's not really in the Ghanaian, it's not the Ghanaian way. That's not how we are. I love our demeanor as a people. We're humble and we're, but humility doesn't mean you can't also celebrate success. So
right.
I think we need to do more of that and celebrate each other more and celebrate our achievements more.
In that regard, Ghana at 68. Just on the 6th of March, we were talking about, hey, we're 68 years. How far have we come? How far do we still have to go? I mean, if you look at the development programs regimes, even from the Gettysburg era. And you could say that it was skewed towards production that would then go outside the country, and production that would yield towards the imperialists rather than towards Ghana. So even if you look at the railway systems, they were just headed into cocoa producing areas, mining areas, and all of that. But at 68, after having taken over the reins of governance, what is it that at 68 we can really point to and say, at least in this area, we did it?
That's a tough question, Ben, because as I said before, and I guess part of the answer lies in my previous response to where we are, when I said we were just at a reasonable place. And I think, what can we say we've done? We've done some things. I can't really point to anything and say, beat my hand on my chest and say, yes, in this thing we are excelling. We don't even have a unicorn. I mean, there are African countries now there are African unicorns now. And I would have loved for Ghana to be, and really, I think it's probably something that would not have been far-fetched as an expectation, given who we are as a nation. And what we have, that we should have at least one unicorn in Ghana by now. We don't have that. And that is the way the world is going. So for me, I think there's a lot that we can do. I look at, we are still exporting raw materials, still importing value-added products. These are things we can do better at. But and that for me is why this lack of, these infrastructural limitations that we have, these developmental challenges that we have continuously. We haven't really addressed the issue of corruption, which is like you go 2 steps forward and 4 steps backwards. So it's like running on a hamster wheel. We are just standing on the same spot.
You just go round and round.
We just keep going round
without
and round
going anywhere.
And patting ourselves on the back. And this is why I'm actually excited about President Mahama's 24-hour economy and the big push. And I'm actually baffled that people are poking fun at it. I don't understand why they're doing that. Yes, it's a bone, and some flesh needs to be put on the bone. It needs to be explained better for Ghanaians to understand what it is. But if you look at the world now, I mean, a lot of countries are practicing the 24-hour economy. They may not be calling it that, but they are practicing it because that's where the world is headed. If I'm sitting in Paris or somewhere and I even need a first aid kit at 4 o'clock in the morning, I can have it. Or I want to order food, I can do that. And that's where the world is headed. So I don't see why people are finding it so, vicious, if you like, to use our...
In fact, it reminds me, just to interject, that is why some countries, a lot of Indians have work outsourced from other countries, the US and other countries.
Yes.
For example, those who are, for the banking system, for example, you need some consultancy. You call them 24 hours. They have Indians that they've outsourced to, and then they'll respond. Even in Ghana, there are people doing that, the service industries. That's a 24-hour setup,
yes, it is. And also 24 hours doesn't mean 3 shifts of 8 hours each. That's very simplistic. I think, if someone is closing at 4 now and they are closing at midnight because of, this new era, then that feeds into the 24-hour economy. I feel that it's, countries are using it as a way to actually create or increase economic growth, and also to improve the quality of life for the citizenry. And in Ghana here, it gives us an opportunity to capitalize on untapped potential, and to create jobs and to stimulate our local businesses. So I'm struggling to understand why people are poking fun at it. I think it's an excellent initiative by President Mahama. Yes, there are things that need to be explained and there are questions that need to be answered. But if you also juxtapose that against the big push, it's
$10 billion.
Yes, it's very exciting. Why do I say that? Because we have infrastructural challenges, limitations. And the big push is mostly about infrastructure. And we
have schools under trees.
We have schools under trees. I saw a documentary the other day with school, with children still, I mean, they didn't have anything. I saw a documentary last year sometime with children in disused graveyards. And,
I mean, we have one that we've been airing, Crumbling Start. Emmanuel Jivenu, our features editor.
Yes, I saw that.
We have over 5,300 of those schools under trees currently.
It's tragic. And so why would you poke fun at something like that? And yes, we don't have money at the moment. We all know
I was about to get to that. I mean, people talk about the reality. Do you have the money?
We don't have money. But hey, guess what? There's a fantastic thing called PPP. And me, as a young lawyer in England, I was fortunate enough to have been involved in some of the very first PPP projects in the world. They were called PFI at the time, Private Finance Initiative. And I did that. And then later on, as a partner, I actually led a number of big PPP projects in the UK. I was involved in quite a number of them. So it is something I understand thoroughly, inside out. And we have done some PPP projects here. Of course, we don't always here negotiate the best terms. So we need to fix that, because if not, you end up in judgment debts, blah, blah, blah. So PPPs are something that we can take advantage of. But of course, before you do that, you need to instill some confidence in our economy. Because one of the things, in fact, credibility is one of the biggest challenges for President Mahama, in the sense that he has to attract investors into the country. It's the country's credibility I'm talking about.
Right.
And I think that for me, the way he's going about things so far gives me confidence that he understands what he's doing. But the proof of the pudding is in eating it.
The eating.
So the implementation is what is key. And I'm sure he's very, very much aware that this thing will form a huge part of his legacy. So I'd like to think that that it will end well. And of course, it's not just PPPs. We need the right regulatory frameworks. We need incentives for the private sector, because, and even there's education. We have to educate people to understand what it means. Because look, for it to work, you need a partnership between government, the private sector, and communities.
Right.
Government cannot do it by itself. So government itself needs to understand the initiative. I won't call it a policy. I would call it an outcome, because, Manhattan was not magic. I mean, you have to take certain steps to get there. And so if you take those steps, then that is an inevitable, almost inevitable outcome. And so it's more of an outcome. And maybe part of the confusion stems from the fact that it's being called a policy. There's a big difference.
Right.
It's an outcome. So what are these steps? Let's take those steps and let's make sure we have the right people in place. And if people are not performing, they need to be fired.
And Guzitano was on the floor of Parliament. I mean, they've been elaborating a bit. It's not something that is altogether yet, and I don't think it's something that will be altogether under just one regime. If as a country we decide we're going that way, then it's something that, whether policy or program, whatever you want to call it, it must be something that must be continuous.
Yes.
Which is where the NDPC comes in, and how different governments from 1992 have treated the National Development Planning Commission after it was formed, because then there seems to be the NDPC's projections, and then the government that comes into power decides what it wants to do. But on that same front, two things. Partisan politics in Ghana since 1992, because what we are talking about also feeds into the political, space. I want you to share with me the good, the bad, and the ugly. And you have been a part of a bit of it between late 2004 and closing 2008.
It really hasn't helped us at all. This whole winner takes all approach, this whole
zero sum.
Zero sum. I mean, it's really not helping us at all. We need to be, and this is why I'm saying that it needs to be more of a nationalistic thing rather than a partisan thing. Because look, we've tried it and tried it and tried it and tried it, and it's not helping us. And I just wish that, for me, it's like all roads need to lead to Rome. And if Ghana is Rome, then, I just see political parties as taking a different path to get to Rome. And so it shouldn't really be about that whole thing. If someone does something that is good for the country, then we have to acknowledge that it is good for Ghana. If someone does something that is not good for Ghana, then it's not good for Ghana, not because they are NPP or because they are NDC, but it's just bad for the country. So for me, that is the ugly part of the politics. So I am happy that these Agenda 111 projects that have been started across the country, which have not been finished, I understand not even one is ready.
At a cost of 400 million, without one being
ready. 400 million. I mean,
that's not to say it is not a good project, but no completion.
But we don't have completion. And until we've completed, we can't really get any benefit out of it, any tangible benefit out of it. So I'm happy that the government is saying, no, hang on a minute, we need to complete these things. And so that's another thing that I think is good about the new president's posturing generally. We need to just get in with the program, as it were, rather than do our own things when we get there. And also tackle corruption. Just because it's your own, the person is from your own party, doesn't mean you should sit on it or turn a blind eye to it. I mean, look at the issues with Galamsey, for example. Politics plays a huge part of that, or at least has done in the past. And it's not helping us. So we need to move away from that.
As a lawyer, since you've mentioned corruption twice now, or about 3 times, let me ask you, what do you make of Oral, Operation Recover or Loot, and some of the mechanisms that have been put in place to ensure that if some people ought to face legal consequences, they face them, but that we recover what belongs to the state, the ordinary people of Ghana?
Look, Ben, we have to recover the money. I want my money recovered, you want your money recovered. I'm sure everyone in this building and every Ghanaian taxpayer wants their money recovered. We cannot work this hard for just an individual, a greedy individual, to take the money for their own personal pockets. It cannot be allowed to happen. It's something that we must not countenance anymore. And actually, we can't afford to allow these things to happen anymore if we are serious about developing our country. I think Oral is a great initiative. At the end of the last election, in fact, during the campaign, corruption was a huge part of it. And these are part of the promises that President Mahama made to the people of Ghana. And I am excited about Oral. I don't see people, as long as it's doing what it's mandated to do and it's not persecuting anybody. And so far, we haven't seen any persecutions, So as long as it stays within the ambits of the law and the ambits of its legal mandate, I'm okay with Oral. And I'm actually excited about, Honorable Okujato Ablakwa is in charge of it. I like him because of the way he actually highlighted some of the corruption incidents that were taking place in the last administration. I remember seeing a program where with his own money he had bought a ticket and gone somewhere, I think Missouri or somewhere, I can't remember which state it was, over this National Cathedral scandal. And he got there, looked at the address, and it was a big warehouse. It wasn't an office, it wasn't anything. So look, so he's a man that I think has done well for the country, and I think that's the right place for him to be.
And it's been, go ahead.
And so, yes, so as long as we stay, and there's a lawyer on the committee, as long as we stay, Martin Pebo is on the committee, as long as we stay within the ambits of the law, and people don't see it as a witch-hunting organization, I think we're good, because we need our money to be recovered. We need anything that has looted. And look, if you haven't looted anything, you have nothing to be afraid of. And if it were to be, if it is the case that people are being persecuted, Ghanaians will go out there and say, this is not how we behave in this country. And as I said, so far, nothing like that is happening. They're quiet, they are doing their investigations, they are working together. So together with all the other anti-corruption agencies, YOCO, all of them, Office of the Special Prosecutor, etc., and the courts, the judicial system, I'm sure the chips will fall where they ought to fall.
I see. And of course, then there's also the situation with, since you've brought up Oral, to make tracks, Kenoforiata and the recent OSP, that does not necessarily have to do with Oral. invasion of his home, if you like, if you want to call it that. There's been, some suit in court, and the OSP is also saying, if you don't come into the country on this date, I think it's June the 2nd or something of the sort, then I'll publish your name again as being a fugitive being wanted. There's Gift Owari, the former deputy director of the NSA, or NSS actually, but NSA in terms of the authority, who also recently came into the country, was questioned by the NIB, and then was allowed to go, I believe, on bail. Some people have felt those were witch hunts, so to speak. What do you think?
Well, look, it's not good to invade people's homes. And I thought the OSP came out and said it wasn't them. Did they not come out?
Yes, there was some,
yes.
some...
So I don't know who did that invasion, but whatever it is, it's a private space. I mean, homes are private. And I think that unless you have a warrant, if you have a warrant, I mean, there are occasions where, for whatever reason, courts grant warrants to actually go and do searches in people's homes. But, all these unauthorized raids and all the rest of it, and I think people have come out from the government to say, look, we don't know we don't know what happened there. So I would not condone that kind of behavior. But that said, if it is the case that the OSP or any other organization feels that there's necessity to go and investigate someone or go and recover something from someone's home, then it has to be done properly in accordance with the rule of law and within the ambit of the Constitution, and taking into consideration the person's own rights as well. Yes. So, yeah. And in terms of this, what do you call it, this list and being on the red list and all of that, I think he's now appointed lawyers, and the lawyers are dealing with the OSP, and I think things are calm now again. So let's see how that pans out.
Yeah. Let's talk about the Akufo-Addo administration. You served under Akufo. How would you assess President Akufo-Addo's 8-year term? And maybe on a scale of 1 to 10, how well do you feel he performed?
On a scale of 1 to 10, that's hard. That's hard to put a number to it. What I'll say, though, is that it all started with such hope. And, Ghanaians had such big expectations. There was such goodwill following the former president. I remember when he was elected, even the Makola women reduced the prices of goods before he could even do anything, as soon as, the spare parts guys in Abosoka and all of that, because they were just so excited. They thought, hey, they're going to show us how this is done. But unfortunately, by the end of it, everything had fallen down like a lead balloon, as far as I'm concerned. It's sad. That's not what we expected. We had an over-bloated government. We are a small country of 32 million people. We had no business having 100+ ministers. And one thing I could just never get my head around, and this doesn't just apply to him, but also to some other African leaders. You take a private jet, fuel it with so much money, and go cap in hand to a country and sit in front of someone asking for money when that person has just taken a public train to work. I mean, there's something seriously wrong.
We don't cut our coat according to our cloth.
Buying all these V8s, and I mean, these are all depreciating assets. Why are we buying V8s in the first place? I don't understand why we need to have these cars. We can't afford them. I mean, have you seen the cars that British ministers drive? So why this forced ostentation?
I've seen some of them on bicycles.
Exactly. Some of them are on bicycles, some are taking the tube and walking, to work and all the rest of it. What is it about us that makes us want things that we really can't afford when there are more pressing things that we should be spending our money on? So yes, I felt that things could have gone a lot better under the previous administration, and I find it very sad and unfortunate the way things ended. And I mean, look, it's not me, it's Ghanaians. Look at the election results. Nobody had won by such a huge margin. So people clearly felt incensed. They just were indignant, they were upset. And people, look, I saw documentaries where children were just eating banku and raw pepper, and they said, you know, the red pepper.
Right.
And with
school
water.
School feeding.
Yeah, I mean, and not even the fried pepper, not shito, just, you know, pepper, mako with pepper, with water. And people, children eating once a day, and there was a lot of hardship. There was a lot of hardship, and pensioners picketing, I mean, sitting in the sun, some, you know, needing money for their medication, haircuts. I mean, it was a mess, you know. Yeah.
You talk about this bit. I remember speaking to Brigadier General Nunu Mensah once, and he said it's interesting because he thinks in Ghana we have more Toyota Land Cruisers than in Japan, where it's actually made, right? But the fun is on us. The joke is on us because we tend to do these things. But my interest, all of these people in parliament, ministers, they'll talk about corruption and all of that, cutting costs, but we will still go ahead with this V8 regime. Mm-hmm. Do you think, and I'm going to put you to the sword a bit, I don't know whether you, as a deputy minister, you were using your own vehicle or you were using a state vehicle, but the point is...
I used my own.
Used your own vehicle. Well, kudos to you for that. Yeah. What do you think we can do about that regime? And how do you feel we can still sanitize Article 71 in terms of the beneficiaries of that? Article 71 office holders, they'll serve what, a few years, and they get so many benefits that the ordinary Ghanaian probably would work 30 years, 40 years and never see. What do you think about that regime?
We need to change it. We need to, you know, go back to cutting our coat according to our cloth if we are serious about development. And I keep saying this because I'm worried at the pace at which we are going in terms of development. We're being left behind. Some of these things are easy. You know, they are low-hanging fruits.
Easy pickings.
Easy pickings. And they will make such a huge difference. I mean, I saw people who had police officers holding their bags, who had no business having police. Nobody was ever going to kidnap that particular person. Nobody is interested in them. They are not essential to national security or anything. And yet they've been appointed a police officer. I mean, I'm talking about the last regime, and I hope we don't see that here. You know, I mean, I was baffled when I saw this one particular person.
Right.
And that means that we are now, that person has a police officer with her, and then at home, she also has someone there, and then all the benefits, free petrol, free this, free that.
Well, some of them say they don't get free petrol and all of that. But on Article 71, should we make it such that if you benefit once, that's it?
Yes.
You can't benefit again. Because there are people, mind you, there are people who have been in Parliament for what? 6, 7 terms, and every time they get the benefits. Should we get to that point? Even if we are retaining Article 71, should we get to the point where you benefit once and that's it? Or should we scrap it?
I think you should benefit at the end of your term and that's it.
Once.
I think that's fair.
That's fair.
I think that's fair. Yeah.
Let's look at the Dr. Bawumia candidacy for the NPP in the last election. Oseiche Mensah-Bonsu mentioned at a point that if the elections had been held in August, the NPP would have got even 30%, not 38%, as they got. But what do you think of the Dr. Bawumia candidacy? What went wrong? Oh, and let me just add that Sarah Adjoasa, former member of Parliament for Dome Kwabenya, also says it wasn't Dr. Bawumia's fault. How do you reflect on those?
Well, I think they both have a point. I would have thought that being in that position and seeing how things had panned out in the country, I don't think he should have gone for the presidency at that time. Even if he had that ambition, I think it would have been better for him to have waited, gone and done something else, let Ghanaians forget their pain, because people were in pain. And unfortunately for him, his former boss had introduced him to us as the one, you know, as the one who was going to fix our economy, and that he had chosen him specifically for that purpose. So seeing that had gone so badly wrong, and seeing the consequences, the pain and suffering of Ghanaians, I would have thought that the best thing to have done was to have taken a break and then come back. Let people nurse their wounds a bit and then come back. But coming back of the end of the right at the end of that, of the back of that, without any breather, I knew from the beginning that it was never going to work. And I
knew that the NPP was not going to be able to break the 8.
I knew, because it was so clear to me. And I was wondering why it wasn't so clear to certain elements, certain people, that this was the case. I don't know whether it was arrogance or whether it's behaving like ostriches and burying one's head in the sand or whatever it was. But it was so clear to me that I used to sit there and I was baffled at the thought that they actually thought that they were going to break the 8. I used to think, is it me or is it because it was so clear? Because I talk to people, I talk to people, I talk to tractor drivers, I talk to taxi drivers, I talk to market women, I talk to people. So I knew the pulse of the people. And I knew it was just not going to work, So it's unfortunate.
Whom do you think perhaps would have been a better option for the NPP?
I don't know.
I mean, there was Alan Chamating, who moved away and formed the Movement for Change. There was Kennedy Ejapong, who also contested, made quite a showing for himself, quite an impression among others. But do you feel then that maybe one of them would have been a better option rather than for the former vice president?
I think so. I think anyone other than someone who was so closely linked to the administration, the kind of steering the affairs of the nation. I think anyone but would have done better. Yeah.
Let's talk about Galamsey. I know you're passionate about that issue and the havoc it has wrought on our national life, everything. If you're eating banche, your cassava and the rest, don't think you're free, or your yam, because depending on where it's grown, you could be facing the effects. Maize, corn, they tend to pick these things from the roots. You could be affected as well, our water and other things. What do you make of it and the fight? LI 2462 was in Parliament yesterday. There was some concerns about the pre-laying, and also something I found interesting, that the minority was not in favor of taking away the power of the president to actually give or allow for licenses to be granted in mining, forest reserves. I felt that was a no-brainer in terms of some powers of our presidents ought to be taken away. And if this is one of them, I think it should be. But what is your take?
I agree with you, starting with that last point. I mean, I was also baffled that the minority would actually, you can't say that you are fighting this menace and at the same time resist things that will actually contribute towards that fight. I see Galamsey as an existential threat. It's a menace. It's killing us in every way that you can think of. Ghana Water has complained for the nth time. And they are saying that if we continue in this way, they don't even know if they will be able to purify the water anymore. And in any event, would we even have the water to even be purified? So we have that, we have the health challenges. Children are being born deformed. We also have the social problems. I was told by someone that there are villages in Ghana where you have half Chinese children with no fathers. These are serious social issues, So as for Galamsey, and why do we have Galamsey? It's greed. It's nothing but greed. And I am at a loss why it has not been eradicated. We need force. We need something to stop it. Because we just cannot, it's an existential threat. We cannot continue. And also look at the revenue that we lose through illegal mining. Billions. How much did we go to the IMF to borrow? 3 billion.
3 billion.
And how much did we lose through Galamsey? Over 2 billion. I think that the last count was something like 2.3 or something. That's a lot of money. It's affecting our cocoa production and our standing as a nation, as the second largest cocoa producer in the world. And, together with Ivory Coast, we are producing, 2/3 of the world's cocoa needs.
Right.
And look, we went from like 1 million at the peak of our production to just about 500,000. So it's affecting us in every which way. I mean, Cocoa Board could not even syndicate the loans last year. They are in debt. They are in a serious black hole.
It's a huge debt. I'm sure at some other point we'll delve into, the Galamsey issue. But I do want to do this briefly before you leave, maybe just a minute. I've also found it interesting. President Mahama promised about 30% of appointments for women here and there. You're a woman and, one who has been there, done that. Why do you think there's this issue of women shying away from politics, especially? If women are such good leaders, why are many not taking up the challenge of leadership? I just want you to address that as a final point, and then we can wrap it.
I think it's difficult for women. Look, it's a chauvinistic country,
chauvinistic country.
It or not, it is.
Male-dominated, huh?
Male-dominated. And, there are some men who are very forward-thinking. And I think increasingly so, which I'm very happy about. And President Mahama, I would put him in that category as one of the forward-thinking men in this country. And I'm very excited about that. Women don't take it up because it's tough. In addition to doing all these things, you are still expected to do your usual chores at home. And also the stigma, the insults, the nastiness of politics. Women don't like that. They just want to come in, do their work, do a professional job and leave. If they don't like what you're saying, they'll call you a prostitute. They'll call you names. They'll insult you, etc. And I don't think women are built for that, And why should we? I mean, really, we just want to. We like coming in, doing our work, and leaving. We don't like all the other mess that comes with that. Right. So I think if it was a bit more sanitized, it will attract more women.
Well, it's been an interesting conversation. I see a comment here from Moses Adabria, who says, I really like how she presents her answers to the host. And it's been quite a while. Maybe we should do this again at some point. But that is Victoria Bright, popularly known as Vickie Bright. She's a former legal advisor to former President John Agyekum Kufuor, also a deputy minister at the office of the president then, but she's also a philanthropist, an entrepreneur, and a legal luminary. She joined us for a conversation. You want to stick and stay? We'll be back with more action right after the break. Do stay.
Welcome back on the AM show. Now, we just want to tease you a little bit ahead of tomorrow's critical conversation on underrepresentation of women in Ghana's local governance. We're focusing on the current appointments, the government's commitment as stated in pre-election manifesto plans, and what we are actually seeing. Joining me, one of our partners, to tease you, like I said, is Raymond Danso. He's portfolio manager, rights to social services at Star Ghana Foundation. Raymond, good morning, and it's good to have you on the AM show.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
Great. So, tomorrow's conversation is one that I'm particularly looking forward to. When we talk about women in leadership or representation generally, we can say that the historic first female vice president we have in the passage of the affirmative action law is a good step, but it doesn't solve all the problems. You're looking at the gaps that exist and how we can go around all of this. But I want to hear from your side why Star Ghana Foundation is on board and powering this conversation. What is the intention there?
Thank you very much. So the Women Rising segment is part of the Star Ghana Foundation's Inclusive Elections and Accountable Governance project, which is being funded by the Foreign Commonwealth and Development Office of the UK. Largely, the purpose of that project is to promote citizens' participation, particularly women, youth, differently abled persons, to participate in the electoral processes, set the agenda for political party policies and programs, and beyond the elections also work with the government to monitor progress towards its commitment in the area of inclusion. You would recall that in the party manifesto, there were some commitments specifically on the 30% political leadership for women. There's also some commitment around the legal and regulatory framework to ensure that there's inclusion within the public space. As you rightly said, given all the gender policies, the programs, the interventions, looking back even from 30 years after the Beijing platform for action, there's still underrepresentation of women. And we think that at CSOs, at partners, we need to continue the conversation. And so this rising segment really is going to deepen the conversation on gender parity. And we'll discuss in particular the systemic barriers that is hindering us from being able to ensure gender parity. We will seek to explore the reality of women in the political landscape. Of course, there's also some data. We've tried to also analyze data in terms of current appointments. So we will look at the data, we will examine how far we have come. We do also have some women who would share life experiences, how they've navigated the political landscape. So this conversation is key because inclusion is key. Inclusion is not just for developmental, purposes, but also there are studies that even support the view that diverse teams produces better, we perform better as opposed to less diverse teams. And even if you look at the statistics as a population, we can't afford to leave women behind. So these and many more are really the underpinning reasons why we think that the conversation around gender should continue.
You spelled it all out rather succinctly. Thank you for those. And I just want to ask before we go, what difference do you hope we make with this conversation at the end of it tomorrow? What are those key points that would usher us into a new era after that conversation tomorrow?
I think for us at Star Ghana, Center for Active Citizenship, we are hoping to inspire, actionable steps, ultimately to foster an inclusive political environment. We think that we should have, policies, plans, and best practices in place, not just within the political landscape, but also in social, economic, and other spheres of life, so that we can see women in leadership positions playing the very important roles that help to shape our development agenda and to create a sustainable, country for us. Of course, we are going to be seeing social cohesion, community development when women occupy the relevant roles in terms of our political dispensation. So we are hoping that there's going to be a change. Government is trying, from the recent appointment statistics, we've seen some improvements. There are still opportunities that we feel that we should continue to hammer this conversation so that we don't lose that opportunity by way of seeing that many women are brought into the political space, especially looking at the upcoming municipal and metropolitan chief executive appointment. We think that is also an opportunity. So hopefully this conversation will trigger a government responsiveness to reflect and to live up to its commitments.
Well, Raymond, thank you so much. I just want to remind our audience that our panel for tomorrow, we have Esther Tewia, Executive Director of GenSed, Sheila Menka Premo, she is a legal expert from Apex Law Consult, of course, Bashira Tukamal, who is a labor expert, and Hajja Lamnatu Adam, Executive Director of Songtaba, Ghana, and Eunice Agbenanyaji, Head of Programs at Star Ghana Foundation. Raymond, thank you so much for coming. We'll see you tomorrow, are we? Are we seeing you tomorrow?
Yes.
All right. Raymond Janso is Portfolio Manager, Rights to Social Services at Star Ghana Foundation. And we're just reminding you that tomorrow we'll be engaging in a critical discourse on underrepresentation of women in local governance right here in Ghana. You want to make a date with us. It starts at 10 a.m. on the dot. It's an hour-and-a-half program, so you want to stay with us throughout all of it. Well, there's still so much more coming your way on the AM show, but I want to remind you that if you need a solar system, you can select one from our various solar packages, ranging from 30,000 Ghana cedis to 99,000 Ghana cedis. And all our solar systems come with lithium-ion batteries. Now, you want to get a solar water heater, a solar home system, a solar power station, or a solar generator, ranging from 1,000 watts to 20,000 watts. And we also sell reverse osmosis machines for water treatment with galamsey and what it's doing to water bodies. You need one. You can Google Solar Mates Ghana to find us on both Facebook and on Instagram, or simply call 050-832-0470. Solar Mates Ghana is located at Adringano, East Legon, right here in Ghana. Solar Mates, we go everywhere. Stick and stay. We'll be right back.
Staying with us, we have the next belt of our conversation now. But just a reminder, the AM show is sponsored by Waylead Properties. But we now have an interaction with the Environmental Service Providers Association. They say they are against the pollution and sanitation levy being redirected for other purposes in the 2025 budget, rather than what was originally stipulated. Well, joining us for a conversation on this in the studio, we have Ama Oforientry. She's Executive Secretary, Environmental Service Providers Association. Ama, thank you for joining the conversation.
Thank you. Good morning. Good morning to your viewers, and thanks for giving us the opportunity to be here.
Right. Just a quick question, and then my colleague Sweetie Abochi will come in. The Environmental Service Providers Association, what do you do? Who are you? What do you do?
The Environmental Service Providers Association, we normally refer to ourselves as ESPA. So ESPA is an association of private waste contractors. So basically, it's an umbrella body of different private sectors, different actors working in the environmental and sanitation sector. So as part of the membership, we have people who are into solid waste management. We have people who are into liquid waste management. And with the liquid waste, we have the septic entities and then the car owners. We have people who are into landfill management, recycling. We even have the informal as part of the association. We have members who are basically into e-waste. As part of the membership, we have members who are into scraps and then sachet water pickers. So it's an umbrella body of different actors in the environmental and sanitation sector. Yes.
And so your work is basically supporting the state to clean up our country.
Yes.
Yeah. And we know that you were quite excited in 2021 when the sanitation and pollution levy was introduced. And I believe this conversation is because you're unhappy that it's going to be repurposed to help, help the shortfalls we're experiencing in terms of the, is it the, just a second, let me get that.
Energy sector.
Energy sector, yeah. Levies Amendment Act. What exactly is your case as you sit here right now?
So our case is environmental sanitation is a multifaceted area, and it cuts across every sector of the economy. And if indeed any government or any country wants to see development, this is one area that we can, it's just indispensable. So if there's a novel creation where we have the sanitation and pollution levy, already when it comes to the sector, funding is always a challenge. Right. Funding sanitation activities is a challenge. And then we come up with a novel idea, or we use an act, and then the act promotes a situation where we can get levies to support the sector. So it means by virtue of that act, there is some form of funding to support the sector. And what has it done? When the sanitation and pollution levy was introduced, as a result of that, we've been able to put up recycling facilities. The final disposal site is also managed by the fund. So now that the fund is being diverted to go back to go and offset the energy sector bill, does it mean that the sanitation sector is no longer important? Or is there a special fund elsewhere that is going to be used to support our sector?
So what it means is you don't have clarity on that yet. Is that the situation? Because if you look at what that portion of the budget says, it says without increasing the levy, we'll review the Energy Sector Levies Act to consolidate the Energy Debt Recovery Levy. Of course, that means it's going into energy. And the proceeds will be used to address energy sector shortfalls, right? And that also includes the recovery levy, that's the Delta Fund, and the sanitation and pollution levy. So there are no specificities in terms of what this will mean for you, or is there?
There's nothing. But when you go down, you realize that they said all the other levies are supposed to be used for the intended purposes
right.
to achieve its objectives.
Right.
So what happens to the sanitation sector? So that is a big question, and that is a big gap that needs to be addressed. And as we all know, when we talk about sanitation, sanitation has a direct correlation to our health. It's not just about the fund. Even with the existing structures and what is happening, we all can attest to the fact that there are challenges. We have genuine challenges. I will not sit here and pretend as if when it comes to waste management or solid liquid or the infrastructure, we are doing our best, but we can do better if indeed we have all the systems in place to support us. So currently as we speak, even there are a lot of existing debts, as if the way it looked, as if everything has been catered for in our sector already, and as if there are no debts also there to be offset. So what happens to even all the debts piling up and the infrastructures?
How did those debts accrue?
Because there's the state actors have put in recycling facilities, and as we speak, we have over 16 recycling facilities in the country, and that is what the fund has been used for all this while, to support that sector. As a result of that, there has been a lot of job creation over. I can attest to the fact that with the recycling compost plants in the 16 regions, over 15,000 jobs have been created. So if the fund is being taken away, how are we going to sustain the existing facilities? And then how do we even continue with the support in terms of job creation? And when it comes to private sector, I realize that private sector will inject a lot of investments into the sector just to ensure that we have the right things in place. So when we talk about environmental sanitation, we should all know that it has a direct correlation to our health. When you take the education budget, you realize that the budget is clear, it's been outlined, and even what will be used for sanitary parts is there. So the question is, after the sanitary parts have been used, who is responsible for it? And how is it going to be disposed of? That is why I'm saying that when it comes to sanitation, it's indispensable. And if we don't take care of the sector, it's going to affect us as a nation. So I want this subject to be addressed as a national issue. It's not about environmental sanitation service providers, but it's about a nation as Ghana. What is our commitment when it comes to sanitation? And in the 21st century, we are still talking about cholera at this age, at this day and era. And all it has to do with the way sanitation is handled in this country. As we speak.
Sorry to interrupt at this point. I know that normally our funding for sanitation-related projects comes from foreign donors, correct? About 80% of the money we pump into sanitation and cleaning up our country comes from foreign donors. So before the introduction of this sanitation and pollution levy in 2021, where was the money coming from? And why do you have no confidence at all that we may still get in some funds to, meet you at the point of your needs?
There are existing. The first question has to do with the international donor funds. And that one, more often than not, it goes into the open defecation, the building of toilets. I know a lot of money has gone into the Gamma project that has built a lot of toilets, and that has been an initiative, and that has been a good support, and that is one of the donor funds. That's where most of the donor funds goes into. So that one is taking care of open defecation. And
so none of it comes to sanitation in terms of liquid and solid waste, the kind of things that you are involved in?
Liquid and solid waste normally comes from the governments. Liquid and solid waste comes from the government. And as part of the government support, that is where it comes through the local, the metropolitan municipal districts, the local governments support. That's a common fund. Yes. So the more often than not, the support that comes has benefited this country. But even as a nation, some amount of GDP is even supposed to be there to support the sanitation sector. So this year, we are going to ensure we do the budget tracking and also know how much was even committed to our sector. But for this morning's discussion and focus, I just want the government to relook at the issue of sanitation, environmental sanitation, because it's indispensable and we need it. So with the budget not giving clarity on how the sanitation and pollution levy should be used, will not benefit the sector. If indeed government is committed to seeing that we end the current situation that we are in. We all admit that we are currently bedeviled with a lot of challenges as far as the sector is concerned. So the sanitation and pollution fund being diverted elsewhere would not mean very good for us as a nation. That's why we want to engage government ASAP to relook at that policy and act back it, and the act even states clearly as to how the fund should be used for. So currently it's being used for landfilling, it's being used for existing recycling facilities, and it's even being used for air pollution. You know, as we engage in recycling and you are able to sort the materials out, we prevent most of the waste from going back to the final disposal site. As we speak, currently in Ghana, nobody is even willing to give their land for landfilling. Right. They will tell you not as my backyard. So where do we have to go as a nation? Right now, we have to look at recycling.
But is there no state allocation in that regard?
The state allocation for recycling. I
remember Ayikan Dublo, was it many years ago, decades ago, and other landfill sites?
Yes.
Are there not government
So
allocations?
Currently, that is the fund that supports the landfills and then the recycling. So when we do recycling, what happens? About 60% of the waste is already organic. So that one, we use it for the compost. Then other valuable materials are also sorted. The plastics, the metals, and other valuable materials. So at the end of the day, what have we done? We've diverted most of the waste from not ending up at the landfill. So we are expanding the lifestyle span of the landfill and also protecting our environment. We are curbing pollution. And that is what the fund has been used for so far. So we divert most of the waste from not going to the final disposal site. And that is why we are saying that the fund, it has its purpose, just as the rest have been asked that it should be used for the intended purpose. We also have the view that the sanitation and pollution levy, backed by an act that has given clearly as to how the fund should be used, the levy should be used, should also be used for its intended purpose.
So what are your expectations now of the Finance Select Committee in respect of the budget? Because now they are going into the discussions and all that. What are your expectations?
So our expectations are they'll look at the act and then just like the way the others have been asked to be used for its intended purpose, the same should happen in the sanitation sector, because sanitation is also key. It's key to our development. Sanitation has a direct relation to our health. Sanitation has a direct relation to the development of this country. The impacts are devastating. So if the funds should be sent elsewhere, making it look as if our sector, there are no challenges, that is not what it is. We even have very precarious challenges that needs to be addressed by government. I'm tempted to say we can't discuss this fund in isolation. They've collapsed the sanitation ministry, right? And it looks like there's a bigger plan on how to tackle, this administration has a bigger plan on how to tackle sanitation. I remember we had the MEST Minister, Environment, Science and Technology, and he talked about decentralizing waste management and all that. Is it possible that the government has a plan, a bigger plan of how they want to handle sanitation, and they have funds for that, which would not make necessarily this one, taking it away will not take so much away from our efforts to deal with sanitation? The budget did not state anything. Yes, so are you asking that the money, the fund, the sanitation and pollution levy be maintained, or are you asking for clarity on how you can get funds to deal with the things that you need to do? We want the sanitation and pollution levy to be maintained. and also to be used for its intended purposes, just as the amendment of the ESLA Act has stated. It is a legal thing. So that is what we want.
You don't want any amendments to that. And we've seen ESLA and others being used for different things apart from what they were meant to be used for. So you are trying to be proactive and prevent.
No, already we already have a lot of existing challenges in the sector in terms of funding. Even with the districts, even with the assemblies, managing waste management is tough for them already.
Okay, so this will just make things worse.
Yes, when it comes to waste management, managing environmental sanitation, looking at the different solid waste, liquid waste. When you flush your toilet this morning, you've just flushed. Have you asked yourself, where is that toilet going to end? Somebody, how many facilities do we have in Ghana that treats the sewer on site? We don't have enough. So this is where the liquid waste people are also relevant. They come in and then the septic emptiers would pull those things. And where does it end? When they come to empty your takeaways and this, where does it end? It ends as a place where it is treated. If it's not being done, can you imagine what the impact will be for us as a country? And already we are having even financial challenges in managing all the existing facilities.
And so the bottom line is that we must retain this to ensure that you're able to do your work.
Yes.
Right before we go, just a quick one. You mentioned the debt situation. Do you have a figure in mind in terms of the actual debt of your industry?
When it comes to the actual debts, from the point of the Secretariat, I do not have privy to individual contracts of my members. But the issue I'm discussing this morning is the national approach to sanitation in the country. I want the government to attach all the political will and then abide with the promises and hope that it gave Ghanaians that we are going to see an end to most of our struggles. So if one of our struggles in this country is environmental sanitation, and then even the existing systems in place to support the structure is being taken away from the budget, it doesn't look good for us. So we'd want the sanitation and pollution levy to be retained and then to be used for its purpose, as like the others have been,
ESLA and others
have been stated that it should also be used for its intended purpose, as is backed by an act and law.
We're grateful, Amma, for your time with us this morning. Amma Ofori Entry is the Executive Secretary of the Environmental Service Providers Association. She joined the conversation with us this morning. Sweetie?
Yes, Ghana, let's talk about water tanks. Do you know the secret to real water storage? It's simple. If your tank doesn't have the tortoise on it, then it's not the correct tank. That's right, the tortoise tank, Sintex tank, is the champion of water tanks. It is strong and durable and built to handle our Ghanaian weather. So whether rain or shine, Sintex tank has got your back. So when people go outside, check your tank, and if it doesn't have the tortoise on it, it's time to upgrade. Join the Sintex tank family today and enjoy water storage that's tough like a tortoise. Call us on this number, 0244-335-168 to buy one now, or find one of our over 400 agents nationwide. You can also shop online at sintexgh.com. Sintex tank, a strong, a tough. Taking us on a quick break. When we return, more on the AM show.
Here with the Ghana Boundary Commission, we are doing an inspection of Ghana's international boundary line with Côte d'Ivoire.
Have you ever wondered what it takes to protect
manage and resolve disputes along these boundaries?
Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire had a problem which was resolved by the ITLUS ruling.
Unanimously finds that Ghana didn't violate the sovereign rights of Cote d'Ivoire.
For decades, boundary disputes have sparked tensions across the continent, but Ghana is taking a different approach, one built on diplomacy, collaboration, and strategic security. The Ghana Boundary Commission stands at the front line, ensuring peaceful coexistence with our neighbors, demarcating boundaries, and safeguarding national sovereignty. Join us as we uncover the untold story of the Ghana Boundary Commission, its challenges, victories, and the future of Ghana's boundaries.
This government increased their debt from 2009 to 2016 by 20 billion. And what did this result in? It resulted in a dip in the GDP by 8.8 billion Ghana cedis. This same 20 billion is what we put on our debt from 2017 to 2024. And what did we do? We rather added $20 billion to our GDP. Now GDP is 1.2 trillion Ghana cedis. 1.2 trillion Ghana cedis. I know they always come up with one thing or the other, but facts are sacred, Mr. Speaker, and it has found its way in their budget. Mr. Speaker, let me come to one thing that is really of a bother to me. I heard my former minister talk about it, and I also want to talk about it. That is the issue of expenditure. Mr. Speaker, they presented to us, to the people of Ghana, that this government is a government that was going to rationalize expenditure and cut waste. But, Mr. Speaker, they should tell us, where in this budget have they rationalized expenditure? Where in this budget have they cut waste? Rather, they have sought to add 43.5 billion Ghana cedis to the expenditure budget. This is not Abner saying it. This is your budget speaking to that. Mr. Speaker, they are hoping that at the end of appropriation, we will give them the permission to spend 290 billion Ghana cedis. When, Mr. Speaker, this year is not an election year, so there are certain expenditures that they are not going to incur.
Mr. Speaker, if you had 123 ministers, and if you reduce it to 60, a difference of 63 ministers, go and check the overhead expenditure on them. 63 ministers. How much you guys spent on 123 ministers? Was it not a wasteful expenditure? We have a government who will not spend money to dig hole in the name of National Cathedral. We have a government who will not fly with a chartered flight with other friends. Other friends. And you know what I'm talking about. Mr. Speaker, we have a president who will not take national resources to pay ghosts.
Speaker, when it comes to debt, even if I want to go by their figures, you have the unprecedented record in the history of this country. 2009, NDC government met total debt of 9.2 billion Ghana cedis. 2016, when they were leaving Ghana, it had moved to 122.3 billion. In terms of percentage increase, 1,222.8%. It has never occurred. Sometimes I want to ask you, nobody wants to tell me, that are you truly social democrats or capitalistic in nature? Because you can't do proper policies. You can't manage the economic indicators. So what are you? I want to know. Mr. Speaker, let's come to this, something they call 24-hour economy. I've conducted my own research. I've collected primary data from them. I've asked 31 NDC MPs. They all give different definitions. One policy, in terms of definitions, infinite. The fact is, the NDC guys do not stay down, sit down, analyze things before they come out. What is 24-hour economy? They have no idea about what they want to do. Mr. Speaker, what we want to tell them is that Ghanaians, Ghanaians have regretted.
Speaker, he said he interviewed 31 members of NDC MPs and who did not understand what the 24-hour economy is. So, Speaker, that is not fair because you cast doubts on the integrity of the entire membership of the NDC caucus. You can engage in your debate, but clearly you haven't conducted any interviews. If you conducted interviews, mention the names of the MPs. It's not fair to this side for that particular statement to be allowed to stand. You can say all the lies you have said, I don't have a problem. But to add this one, I think that it shouldn't be accepted, Mr. Speaker.
Your budget, even the one that you brought, your budget, it betrays your priorities. You see, like they say, don't tell me what your priorities are. Show me your budget, and I will see what you value. This budget that you have brought is the budget in which you have told us, first of all, that you value Ghanaian women so much that you are going to set up a bank for them, the Women's Development Bank. You have put $51 million allocation, 51 million cedis, 51 million cedis allocation in this budget for the Women's Development Bank. And then you have put 70 million cedis for research at Jubilee House. You see your priorities? The budget is beginning to betray your priorities. You give all of the women in Ghana who are looking for this bank 51 million, and then you give research at the office of the president 70 million Ghana cedis. You are beginning to see your priorities. Honorable Deputy Minister, you told us that something has happened that's never happened. The president has gone to negotiate minimum wage. How much? 10%. What he failed to realize, that yes, in 2024, they allocated 11.5 billion cedis for goods and services. We have reduced that to 6.9 billion. But they allocated 14.7 for CAPEX. We have allocated 21 billion cedis for capital expenditure. Between goods and services and capital expenditure, which one will help the economy grow? Our approach is to invest in capital expenditure to expand the productive capacity of this country. That is what will bring the growth that we need, and not goods and services. Mr. Speaker, we have a country where the government of the day was looking in all places for taxes. Every least excuse, they will impose a tax. They said there is Bola sitting at Nima, sanitation tax. They said there's a disease called COVID-19 tax. The people of Ghana are very lucky. By now, we have been hearing deportation from the United States levy in our country. The war of tariff, the tariff war, we have been hearing tariff levy because our economy is suffering from Donald Trump. But here, Ghanaians don't even know that there's a tariff war. Ghanaians don't even know that Ghanaians are being deported because we will not ask them to pay levies for the people that are being deported. And this is how we are going to run this economy and teach you so that next time in 2058, if you ever happen to come back here, you will not be imposing taxes on the poor.
The previous government announced publicly, the Attorney General actually took steps in the course of the 8th Parliament to effect this same amendment. But, Mr. Speaker, the point is, the need for this prelaying is all because the submissions made by the Honorable Majority Leader and the Honorable Minister for Education, Mr. Speaker, in some respects, does not contextualize the issue because the President has the right under the National Constitution, under statute, to exercise a discretion for mining to take place in a forest reserve.
My worry is the comments made by my brother, the former minister for lands, when he indicated that mining is actually going on in the forest area. It's true, but he issued those permits. He issued those permits. And what we are seeking to do is to ensure that people do not engage in such mining. And
we know the agency involved in the ally before us, but with all due respect, I will want to direct and urge upon the subsidiary legislation committee to, as a matter of urgency, conduct a pre-laying within 3 days and report to the House on Thursday. Honourable members, with all due respect, we established the practice to be conducting a pre-laying consideration. So, having regard to the agency involved, honourable members, let's give ourselves for some pre-laying consideration. Then the ally can be laid.
You're still watching the AM show on Joy News, and we have about 20 minutes or less to hear your thoughts. This is the Have Your Say segment. Ben and I are here ready to hear from you. Call us 030-221-1691. Everything we showed you that happened in Parliament. I'm particularly interested in what you think about these pre-laying conditions that the majority have to fulfill before the minority can play ball in terms of the revocation of that LI that grants the president, well, the LI that we actually want them to repeal that LI completely so that no one enters our forest reserves to mine. But call us and let's hear your thoughts, Ben.
So you would have heard from the likes of Dr. Stephen Amwa, the majority leader Mahama Yariga, to Kojo Nkrumah, to Abna Sare, and Murtala Mohammed, the Minister for Environment, Science and Technology. But what are your thoughts? We're heading to Kumasi for starters. Hello, good morning. What's your name?
Oh, my brother. It's your brother, Akonoba.
Akonoba. It's been a while. I am well. I hope you are too.
You know, I'm at the law school, so at times you have to learn then. You come back from there, so that's why.
Ayo, go ahead.
And good morning to my lovely lady, Sweetie.
Hi, good morning.
And I want to encourage her on a NGO. The last time I saw an advert on the television, so she should keep it up. My point is simple. Arsenal Markin, yesterday, let me applaud him. And the first deputy speaker, he also did well. You know, consistency is very important. During the last parliament, when K.T. Hammond was about to lay the LI to regulate the price of cement, NDC used this procedure led by the Right Honourable Speaker that the pre-laying should be a requirement, sort of. So my point is, what was my own majority leader trying to do? Well, there is a precedent. So with this one, I agree with Arsenal Markin. I mean, if he continues to do things like this, then some of us who want to know what is actually happening and say the parliamentary democracy will applaud him. Okay, so he did very well, and I want to applaud him. Yeah, for me, I'm about to applaud him. He did very well. That's how things should be. The law must be followed. Precedent must be followed in the interest of Ghana. Thank you.
Well,
thank you, Akonoba, for sharing your thoughts. You can do same by calling that number 0302-211-691. 0302-211-691. But what do you also think about the posturing when it comes to mining in forest reserves, LI 2462? What is your take on it? Should we let go of it as quickly as possible? It was some promise that was made. How soon would you like it to be let go of? And secondly, that aspect of the amendment that would take away the power of the president to even grant same in forest reserves. What do you make of it? We have Moses on the line. Hello, Moses. Good morning.
Hello, good morning, sir.
Moses, where are you calling from, please?
Yes. I'm calling from Accra.
All right, what are your thoughts? Good morning.
Hello.
Yes,
I'm calling from Accra, and how are you too?
I am well. What are your thoughts?
Deceivers. They are not telling us the truth. And even if you look at them at Parliament, from their face, the way they are talking, you can see that they are liars. You see, when the fellow wake up and want to contribute to what you are doing at the Parliament, I think it's putting fear in Ghanaians. Master, and we beg the girl that you are working with too. She should be fair for us. We know she's pro-NPP, but we don't mind. NPP has come to power. No matter what you people do, NPP has come to power. So you people should change your attitude. Ghanaians are watching. We have been watching you every day.
Okay, Moses, thank you for your thoughts. That's an interesting one.
I want to believe that that's your opinion, and I really do not want to get into it, but it doesn't lie in your hand to call and warn me whether or not you think I'm affiliated to one party or not, on what I should and should not say. But that's your opinion. Thank you for calling. You can also call us 030-2211-691. When I took the win out of you, still there?
No, I mean, it was just a bit. But anyway. Oh, we've lost that caller. But call through. Yes, we'll take your thoughts, whatever they are. And let's know what your opinion is. After all, whatever is happening in Parliament, we'd want to know what you think about those developments and how you feel your representatives there, that is the legislators, who came to your constituencies across the country and lobbied for your vote, would actually be.
Edward is calling us from Dakuman. Edward, good morning. You're live on the AM show. Have your say.
Did we lose Edward as well? Okay, so we have Peter on the line. Peter, where are you calling from?
This is Peter calling from New Abrim, or you can call me Piero.
All right.
Peter, what's on your mind this morning?
This morning, greetings to all of you, and I want to applaud you for the good work that you are doing for Mother Ghana. You see, one thing that I want to say is that Ghanaians, we have been in this for good 8 years, right? And we made a choice, and we voted for President Mahama that it should help so that we solve this problem or menace. We shouldn't do something to rush the man too much. Problem has been created, and we are finding ways and means to solve the problem. We shouldn't be rushing that, and they should follow laid down procedures. Well, it's good they are having majority in Parliament, but let's try to do the right thing and do it well. Okay? You can't keep on doing the wrong thing always and you think you end up getting the right result. No, it wouldn't work for you that way. So please, I will beg everyone to exercise patience. Let's pray. I'm not saying we should be doing this normal prayer that wake up, what we have to use our common sense to do, that we pray. I'm not talking about that. But I'm saying we should support the man and his minister so they do the right thing. And I think it's going to happen. And one thing I want to say is that, look, there are people who are in this mining sector doing this gallop saying, we knew them. They know where they started the job from. Those who have been that, those who have caused that menace, they know them. Why don't they invite them that the mess that you've created, go and solve it. Go and reclaim the place. If not, you'll be held responsible. So that if we also have other plans, we'll put that one into consideration as well. But if you just wake up, you should go and spend money in order to reclaim the place. I don't think you're going to happen. Let's hold them. They should go and solve the money that they've created. Thank you so much, and I applaud you for the good work that you are doing for Mother Ghana.
Thank you so much, Peter, for calling. We do have Edward, I think, from Dakoma now. Edward, are you on with us?
Yes, I'm on.
Great. Have your say.
Okay. Thank you for picking me up. My issue has to do with your colleague Akapo. This morning, when he was interviewed Vickie Bright, he said something. He said that NPP had 38% in the election results. He is a journalist. So his job is to educate and entertain. NPP never had 38%, like he said. And he also do the equalization. When something comes up and we are asking the government of the day today, and he would try and then refer us back to the NPP side. Now NPP is gone. We have given the country to John Dramani Mahama and his NDC. So he should start with this, his equalization. Anytime that something comes up, and then he will be referring to what the past government did. That is the reason why Ghanaians have voted for the NDC now. So he should come again. The NPP never had 38%, as he was saying this morning on the television. It is not good. If he is doing the job for NDC, he should tell us.
Thank you very much for your thoughts. We are grateful. But next time I'm in the studio, don't speak to someone to speak to me. Speak to me directly. Like Kendrick Lamar will say, speak to me directly. But thank you very much for your thoughts. 0302-211-691.
Don't you love this job, Benjamin Akaku?
Is the number to call.
I truly love
it. I
love that our audience can call us and give us feedback. So don't be discouraged.
It's all good. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Hi. Abdul, where are you calling from?
Please, I'm calling from Pokwasi.
All right, Abdul, what are your thoughts for us this morning?
Yeah, first of all, I want to recommend you for the good job that you have been doing for this country. In fact, most of the time, I like your opinion on matters. Though sometimes you digress a little bit, but that's fine. With regards to the contributions about the vegetarians in this country. In fact, for the first time, I wanted to applaud the minority group. Sincerely speaking, they call themselves mighty minority. Indeed, they proved that yesterday, sincerely. Most of their contributions were very audible and then coherent. I didn't see so in the side of majority. In fact, they should keep it up. And if they continue this way, in fact, the country will be a better place to be. Thank you.
Thank you, too, for calling and sharing your thoughts with us.
We still have some time on our hands. We have another caller.
Hello.
We have someone calling us from Bongo. Hi, good morning. Can you tell us your name, please?
Please, my name is Atanga.
Nathaniel?
Atanga.
Oh, okay. Hi,
right.
Atanga. Please, have your say.
Please. Yeah, I'm doing well.
Share your thoughts with us.
Hello.
Atanga, can you listen to us on your phone and not on your TV sets? And please go ahead and share your comments.
Yes, I'm listening. Yeah, I have to say good morning to Joy News. And I want to applaud the minority, the mighty minority in Parliament, especially the leader, for doing a great job for the party, NPP, and Ghanaians as a whole. I just want to say, Bongo, since 92, we have been voting for the NDC. We are not even getting anything. So this time, the NDC, they made noise in Parliament. And when they were even campaigning, they were making noise. Now, when they come, they will look into us. So now we are now with them. We gave them, Upper East, we gave them 15 or 15. Now Upper East is the only region without a stadium. Upper East is the only region without an airport. And most of our roads are very bad. So we are waiting on them, that is to come and do something. Because the people of Upper East have lost them since 92. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Atinga. What are you guys applauding Apenyu marking on? Is it on blocking the lane of that LI or on the debate? But we have another caller. Mohammed, good morning. Calling us from Tamale. How are you?
Good morning. I am fine.
Hi, Mohammed. Please have your say.
Good. So, about the budget, we are very happy about the budget. But my problem is the amount allocated for infrastructure is good, but we the people of Tamale, we have a water crisis. As of now, we are in serious water crisis in Tamale. It has been so, but since President Ford commissioned the water and implemented it up to date, nothing has been added to our water district. We are fasting and we are struggling for water. Even about 2 weeks ago, our minister went to our distant dam, our dam side, that is Dallon. Look, he didn't get a solution for us. So I would like to use this medium to ask our MPs to lobby that is their government so that our summer water crisis will be a thing of the past. Thank you very much, Siti.
Well, thank you so much for calling us. I think we have time for about 2 more callers. The numbers are on your screen, 030-2211-691 extension 1 or 692 for extension 2. Call us and share your thoughts with us. Ben, don't you love this job? In truth, I've enjoyed this morning.
I mean, it's always interesting coming to sit here and the different dynamics. One thing I do love and respect, people, it's different strokes for different folks, different opinions. You can't expect people to have the same opinion, so it's all good. I actually, just on a lighter note, there was a time where I saw a friend somewhere, and there was someone who sold in that community who came by and said, I've been praying that I'll meet you someday, and this and that and that. I'm an NPP man, and this and that, and I think this and I said, oh, okay. But whenever I call into the show, I never get to. So I said, you know what? Here's the number. In fact, he said someone else had been calling for him. I said, here's the number. Take the number next time. Call into the show and express.
So that's the guy.
I don't know whether he's the one, but
okay,
it's
we
all
have
good.
another Mohammed calling us from Wa. Hi, good morning. What's on your mind?
Good morning, brother. Good morning.
Good morning. Have your say.
Yeah, I want to thank you people, the news. I want to thank you for the good work you have been doing. I want to tell the NPP people that they should stop blaming the media. It looks as if the election defeat is still worrying them. When they want to speak, they want to put their blame into the media. Meanwhile, the media is not to blame. You have to blame yourself and your party leader, whom I will tell is Akufa, is the one who caused all of this. So the election defeat is still worrying them. They should stop blaming the media. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's become quite normal for me to be tagged as an NPP journalist or an NDC journalist, depending on how the conversation is going. So really,
it's normal in Ghana.
It's quite normal. Unless you've seen me with a party card, then you can come and confidently say that I'm NDC or an NPP. But I think we have time for one last caller, and then that will be it.
Okay, I think the phone line is ringing. Let's see whether we can get one last caller on board, and then we can take it from there. Are we going to get that caller? Countdown: 10, 9, 8. We have Aaron from Obuasi. Told ya.
Nice.
Let's do this.
Hi, Aaron. How are you? You're on the AM show. What's on your mind?
Hi, good morning to you all. And thank you for the opportunity.
Welcome.
Aaron, I think we can hear some feedback from. Move away from your TV set and just talk to us on phone, please. Aaron, please go ahead.
Okay, so I want to say there's a proper way of mining, which doesn't destroy anything. So it's better they stop mining the forest areas. So the LI that you are talking about, it's better they put a stop to it so that they use the proper way of mining.
All right, Aaron,
I think we all benefit from the resources as well as our natural resources, and our water bodies and forest reserves can be protected.
All right. Thank you very much for your thoughts. It's in the right direction. LI 2462. We have a final caller. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
What's your name, please? Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Kirkwood. I'm Joe King.
All right, Joe King, go ahead.
Let me just commend Joy TV for the wonderful work you're doing. And waking up in the morning around 5 or 4 to come to the studio hasn't always been easy. But I just want to say that I want to encourage you. Sometimes all the comment that you may receive at the studios are quite disheartening. And the letter I saw a while ago was that when one of the callers pass some comment about Sweetie and Mr. Akapo. You were totally down. Don't give up. Just lift up yourself and do the right thing for our mother. We'll continue to watch and listen attentively to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you for the kind words, Joe King from Cape Coast. And that's how we cap off the conversation this morning. Joy News Desk is coming your way up next. But before we go, you know, this show is always brought to you courtesy of, well, Waylead. And they are actually sponsoring this program, Waylead Properties. But before we go, we have a little message for you. The Ghana Chamber of Shipping presents the Alhaj Asuma Banda Memorial Forum under the theme, Banda's Legacy and Impact on the Shipping Industry. Panelists include Dr. Kofi Mbia, Dr. Chimanda Vasnani, Mohammed Samara, Captain Aaron Turkson, Jamilat Mahama, Stanley Raja Aholu, and Michael Lukuje, and other players in the shipping industry in Ghana. The date, Monday, the 24th of March, 2025. The time is 10 a.m. It's in 2 sessions, 10 to 11, and the second, 11 to 12, with industry-related conversations. The live broadcast will be on this network, Joy News. You don't want to miss it. The 24th of the month at 10 a.m. Thank you, and that's how we cap off the conversation. Sweetie.
Yes, thank you for staying with us on this 4-hour package of the AM show. The first quarter of 2025 is nearly ended. Make use of your 24 hours. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye for now.